Buzz, buzz, buzz. You're live. Live. Wait. Everyone, mic
Hello,
check.
Hello. I can hear you pounding on that.
Tapping. Pounding is a little.
Sounds like pounding in my head.
What are you, hungover? Or
Thumping.
Like, jeez.
Thumper.
Little thumper.
I'm wired today.
Wired. On edge.
Non-caffeinated beverages.
Why?
You on a
Because I've had a lot of caffeine today.
Okay. Got it. I was like, are you going on like a
No, I've had a
sabbatical?
about like 1 o'clock today, and my toes were tingling, and I was like, "What's going on?"
It's the eighth
Wait.
cup of coffee that got me.
Yeah. Yep.
Woo!
My office is nice enough to provide us with all sorts of energy drinks and coffee and things to keep us
Going
Jittery?
throughout.
jittery. Yeah. I mean,
Jittery's a word I would
I'm
use.
I'm the oldest person at the office, so that if that gives you some insight
So
into
absurd.
Did you say
what's going on.
oldest?
I'm not the oldest person in the company, but I am the oldest person that works at the office, the physical location in Des Moines. 33, baby.
It starts with a 3. You don't really work there.
What's that?
I said if it starts
This
with a
man
3, you
is
don't really work
old.
there.
Oh yeah, we're live, bro.
Yeah, for sure.
Come on in.
Live, but I wanted to make sure that the cameras were rolling.
They see me rolling.
They,
They hating.
They see me rolling. They hate it. I'm probably gonna get flagged for that. It's fine.
For what? Singing a
like
song?
if you're under, what is it? Like there's some sort of threshold that you're,
I
if
don't
you're
know.
under, you're good.
Oh, so we're good.
I'm pretty certain it's like 17 or some sort of number.
Also, I never mentioned the name of the song.
And also, I don't know if I could actually sing it for 17, 16, 10, probably 7 seconds. So we're good, right?
Also, if they flag me for singing a song that sounds like something, they are.
I mean,
have really
Shazam.
bad
I don't
taste
even
in
know if
music.
Shazam would have picked up on that.
Yeah, that's probably true. Probably.
Good.
We're good.
We're good.
Clear.
So we're good?
And
Good.
We're live.
And we're live. Season 2 begins today for No BS Goon Squad. It is officially season dos. As some of you can tell, although most of you have not been around for a full season, we have some other faces.
Wait, so like, is this an anniversary then? Like,
I don't know because it's not.
what was the
official.
anniversary of the first show? Do you know?
It'll pop up on my Facebook history thing.
Oh.
I think it's in a couple weeks.
But we're starting the new season
Yeah.
before the anniversary.
Yeah, because this is when we were supposed to launch. We were supposed to launch in August.
We
And
did launch in August.
Well, I meant like August, like the beginning of August, but it got delayed because
So is this like our week 0 then? Like high school football has week 0 now in Iowa, which is the
week
dumbest
0 is what, the
ever.
26th?
20. Yeah, the week of the 27th.
So we're negative
is
week
week
-2 or what?
yeah, something along those.
Yeah, we're 2 under.
Week 1 of training camp right now.
I'm still wearing green for Tony Fee now, so you know, I'm still in golf season.
Let's go.
Hey, it's not, I mean, golf season's not over, but we are in a new season for, you know,
Ramping up
for
in my
us.
mind.
For us. It's
Still got
just
a
ramp it up.
Still got a President's Cup. We got the race to
Okay.
Easter Lake,
But we only have big events left, is what you're saying.
which is exciting.
Yeah. What's going on this weekend?
And my favorite golfer is playing the best golf of his life.
Wyndham.
Wyndham.
And I know how to pick second place golfers right now. I said I'll
You-
pick second place
you
every
do?
week if it means Tony Finau's winning.
I mean,
1,000%.
I will keep not picking just for him to win too. So I get it.
I mean, because nobody can win 3 in a row, especially if you don't play the third one.
Right. So he can't do it.
So I can't pick
Sorry.
him this week.
Is he down this weekend? He's
He's
not
just,
playing.
just not playing. He's gonna take a little
Rest?
break. He's got 2 trophies, only 2 hands. So
He went back and partied, didn't he?
Oh, he hit the Dougie a couple times.
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
Dougies. Did you see that? So he obviously flew back into Salt Lake on a private plane. They had a whole bunch of lays and
Like a
people
luau,
there
basically, for him.
celebrating when he got back, like he just won the World Series. Which
Yeah.
I mean, you win two in a row.
I
But his wife flew in Sunday to Detroit to be there for his win.
Detroit. What?
Yep. So she scared him in his room. She got a key to his room, and he didn't know she was there. And there's supposedly a video, but it didn't. I've not seen the video of
It has
her,
not surfaced.
her scaring him.
yet.
Like, how terrible of a story would that be, though? Like, wife sneaks in to surprise husband night before he's going to win another golf tournament, and like he stubs his toe and breaks his,
Right.
like something like that. Like,
right. The top button and the volume button, hold those down together. I think it's like 30 seconds.
30.
Spin,
I don't know what
and
it is.
spin in a circle and jump on your left foot.
Yes. Do all of that, and that computer will restart.
It wouldn't be a podcast if we didn't have some technical difficulties.
Yeah, and this one is sadly not on the marketing team. Dang. They weren't here to just make sure that thing turned on.
Damn it, Chase.
Damn it, Chase!
We'll always have damn it, Chase.
All of his damn it, Chase. So what do we got? 2 weeks until we can start betting on football, Steve? Is that correct?
You're open to bet right
Whoa,
now.
whoa.
Well, I mean, like actually the bets.
Week 1
Can you not
lines are
bet?
everywhere.
Can you not bet on the Hall of Fame game?
You can bet on preseason
I don't mean
as
bet
well,
on. I
yeah.
meant like you can actually bet, and the bets actually occur.
Yeah, the Hall of Fame game's Thursday, isn't it?
Going to occur.
all bets occur, yeah.
Okay. Well, all right. You guys.
We
being
got him.
assholes.
We got him.
Just being a bunch of assholes over here.
Just bet stuff and things.
I was more
Ryan, who we riding this week?
doing a ramp up, but
I should let you pick my winner again.
we're not there yet. We still have to recap. We're just waiting on Mr. Technical Difficulty.
The technical difficulty.
The technical.
Ryan, you got softball tonight?
We should actually make Steve do all the camera stuff. He has more expertise.
I
Used to be a film guy.
can do that. You got to give me a little bit of time to learn your setup.
Nope.
I don't.
0 times.
The best in the business don't need time.
I have more time than that, though.
You have no time.
No
0.
time like the present, baby.
Zilch. Nada. You know what's been great about like these small tournaments? I don't even know what big names I have left for the playoff run because they don't pop up yet. Like I said, I could, yeah,
I'm activated for our picks.
good. I'm glad.
I like that it gives you options though. Like I could have selected boot me.
Yeah, you could have.
Like if I sucked like if I
I don't
like,
want. I don't want my name on
Please
it.
remove me from the
And delete
pool.
all records.
Yes.
Oh, football pool's coming back. I'm excited. I'm excited about one of them for sure.
Man, there's just a lot of sports stuff going
That's
on. I
not
mean,
true.
obviously we got golf stuff, but we got football camps, we got baseball stuff, which I don't really
News
follow
today is going to be
baseball,
intense.
but news is crazy.
It's some good news. Some fun news. I don't know if it's good for everybody.
I mean, the Padres also just dealt for another player.
Somebody was saying they have one bench player left and a doubleheader today. One of my buddies was Evan Lawrence, who we played with at Drake,
Yeah.
who is an avid baseball fan, and he said that they have. Let me read the message just so I'm not misspeaking here.
That never happened.
I mean, that's great.
I think the Padres have one player on their bench for Game 1 that wasn't traded. It's going to be interesting to navigate a doubleheader. Wonder if they can get the guys there for Game 2 that they traded for. What a nightmare that would be. Jump off of a plane and then play a game
What about
immediately.
The guy last night.
We're gonna bring that up. The Red Sox guy. What's
Yeah.
Vasquez?
Christian
Vasquez?
Vasquez.
He just switched dugouts.
He just had to walk
BP
across.
during
Like,
BP.
He's like,
by the way,
catcher.
and
you
just
actually
got
need to go over
swarmed
there.
by reporters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Not knowing what
give the
happened.
man a moment.
Yes.
And I have to pull this up because I think he's having an okay year.
That's why I got traded, right?
Yeah, Boston has played
He's
perhaps
he's
one of the
hitting
worst
282.
streaks of baseball
Oh,
here
it's-
in the
yes.
last 13 games, I think.
Straight terrible.
Like
What is?
real bad.
Boston.
Boston.
oh yeah.
Boston has been awful
He
coming
said it
out of
was,
the All-Star
he said it
break.
was terrible, and I asked what was terrible. I mean, he's hitting 282 as a catcher. That's as anybody, almost
boy.
just right around 300. That's pretty solid.
Yeah, I think it's a great trade. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying the Red Sox are awful.
Yep. So
Oh, for
they're
sure.
they're not.
They're jumping ship.
There was one recently. I think I was just going through the scores and I went, "Holy shit!" Michelle's like, "What?" I'm like, "It's like 28 to 4, 7."
That was the game after.
I'm like,
the
"What is
All-Star game.
happening?"
Was that
played the
right after
Rays?
the All-Star break?
They
Yeah.
played the Rays.
And
No,
the
they
Red
were playing
Sox
Toronto.
and got
Oh, it was the Blue Jays.
Toronto.
One of the A's.
Yeah.
Toronto'd over.
Yeah, it was
It
bad.
looked like a bad football score.
I was like, I don't
Toronto. Run. Toronto.
Toronto over. He's like it.
Oh man.
I mean, it was
Solid.
stretch. But we're
Solid.
early in the show. Haven't had my drink fully.
Stop and got some new shooters.
Hey.
Wasn't quite the deal at the
Well,
old Casey's.
What is going on?
Casey's wasn't trying to get rid of all.
Are you
of
ready?
their
You set up?
99 shots.
Oh yeah.
All right. Let's go. Let's do this thing. So,
I'm set up.
show today. A little recap of our boy Tony winning again.
Back to back.
Back to back.
Which one of you guys would have faded him and said that he's not going back to back?
I literally said on the show that I'm not going to pick him because you don't go back to back.
Wasn't he not available to be picked?
On the one and done? Correct. Yes, correct. That too. So we'll do a little recap-ish, a little rehash of that. It'll probably be fairly quick. A lot of news. Already talked about that. We also have some new golf app updates.
Yeah.
For you. Coming in real hot.
Betting app.
Loop
Golf.
Tease even more so there. Coach's Corner. Big one. Just talking about overall what camp is like in college football. Is really going to be that from a both player and coaching perspective. And I guess, Ryan, you were on campus during when they had camp?
You had football camp?
Did you have wrestling camp in the summer while the football team was
We didn't really have a camp. We just had a workout, and
They're wrestlers. They don't take days
It was a
off.
non-mandatory
good? So
Oh,
we'll let
take
him
days off in wrestling.
we'll let him start with
What are you,
that.
soft football players?
Lead off with
Even worse. Maybe a basketball player.
how doubleheaders work.
Baseball players aren't even athletes in a wrestler's mind.
No, not at all.
Wait, I played a lot of baseball, so
That's why you had to wrestle.
to prove myself.
get your athlete
exactly,
card.
Exactly.
Then we'll get into NFL team camp updates, what's going on with our squads, what we've heard so far going in, and then we're gonna probably chop some stuff up in between, and then we'll finish with the final four in both the NFL and college football predictions. Our picks for the four, not the winners, just the four. How we made out last year. I went 50-50, but
Everybody went 50-50
oh,
last
yeah, we
year
did,
because we all picked Georgia and Bama.
yeah, which probably is not a bad
I mean, that's
bad
probably
option. It's a good start.
Flash, I think,
We'll-
I think
we'll,
that's where I'll start.
One with that. So why don't we let you recap El Golfo?
El Golfo.
Golfo.
He's your boy.
Rocket Mortgage Classic in Detroit, Michigan. Wire to wire. Tony Finau. Well, technically no, but he was always in the final group. Pendrith led on day 2, I think, by 1. But him and Taylor Pendrith, Canadian, who has been hurt most of the year but played good golf when he's not been hurt, basically went toe-to-toe with him until Sunday, and then Tony ran away. 5-stroke victory, 26 under par. Several guys tied at 21 under for second place, including my pick, Cam Young, via Ryan. Thank you, Ryan. Cheers to you. But yeah, just the guy is playing unbelievable golf right now. Putter is actually behaving itself, which is where he usually gets into trouble. Fairways, greens, bogey avoidance, making a ton of birdies. He's long off the tee without having to swing hard off the tee, and so he's just not getting into trouble, and then everything else is just dialed in. So playing his best at the best time of year, and hopefully can continue that with 2 wins in a row. Biggest thing for me is that I believe he is now going to be solidified in the top 6, which makes him 100% on the President's Cup team. Quail Hollow, September, I think it's like 20th through the 24th. Top 6 ranked Americans automatically qualify. So with 2 victories, I believe he's going to get himself there.
Top target for Liv?
He would have gone already if he was going.
Yeah, I agree. I just had to throw that in there.
No, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I don't. Liv's such a weird thing because just to touch on it real quick, like the leaderboard for Liv this week was good and nobody cared.
Yeah.
Nope.
I mean, I actually
First of
watched
all,
a decent
Henrik
amount.
Stenson won.
Oh yeah, because
He played
talked
good.
Shit.
Yeah, and he got. I mean, he got removed from the Ryder Cup captaincy.
Say that one.
Captaincy.
Captaincy. I feel like I'm missing
Yeah.
a syllable.
No, I
but
feel
think
like
Oh,
it's
you
right.
think you're good.
absolutely are.
Captain's seat.
No,
Captain
C-Y,
and C.
Captain CY captaincy.
Captainship.
Captain and
Captaincy
C.
ship.
His position.
I can help with the whole
as the
pan
captain.
cam.
Correct. Whatever that may be.
That's the
I don't think any of the things we
Can't
were
use
saying
the
were
word.
words there.
You can't use the word in the
Here's
definition.
Sir Captainship.
Pretty sure that's
yes.
a word, right?
Whatever it may.
See?
The captaincy. whatever.
Captaincy.
Can't even win the
Captaincy.
shots. Yeah,
Captaincy.
just captaincy.
Yep.
The
The position or period of command
Luke
of
Donald
a team,
has
ship, or
replaced him for that. The Euro
Yeah.
Ryder Cup captain.
Solid pick too.
But Stinson goes and wins. I don't know when the last time he won is. It's been a while and he's washed up. But beat DJ and Patrick Reed. Matt Wolf, I think, finished second as well. So like some good names, but I think it just kind of goes to prove that like
Not solid.
nobody really cared, nobody really watched or could watch, and
I mean, I watched actually.
Did you?
A fair amount of it. It was so. What I like that I think my favorite part of the production is they go to like this don't blink segment where somebody either makes a big shot or misses a big shot to close the gap or whatever it is for their team, and it says, okay, the 4 aces just gained another stroke on. I think who won this week? Was it the 4 aces?
You're gonna have to if you're coming
Yeah,
with
it was.
talk. You're gonna have
It
to
was the 4
also
aces.
come with the info.
4 aces won by 8 strokes. But what they'll do is, so for example, like the Majestics, which is Stenson's team, him, Westwood, Poulter, and Horsfield, they would flash to, oh, hey, the Majestics are getting close.
Right.
So they're within 2 or 3 strokes, or they're within a stroke or something like that. But I think they're trying to make the teams a little bit more of a
right.
spectacle rather than when they first started.
But I think that's the
it's
ultimate
good.
goal for Liv is to become more like F1.
Yeah.
And they're really going to tout the team portion of that. Obviously, the individual stuff is ultimately going to matter in an individual sport, just like it does in F1. But the team stuff is what becomes sponsored. The team stuff is what ends up bringing in the revenue, and that's what they build off of from there.
So we talked about this with the first Live week, and I kind of want to. So you said the top of the leaderboard is legit in Live this week, right? When Live first started, it was like the best overall PGA Tour final pairing, top to bottom. I think Rory won that week, and it was just for viewership, for everything. It just fit. It was like it was scripted out. That like it was just awesome for PGA to have that.
Right.
With Live, obviously these names are up here, but would you want to see some more of those no names up there a little bit just to show, hey, it's competitive from top to bottom?
I don't really care one way or the other. I just don't think that the format makes it interesting. And I don't know, did you watch on Sunday? Because to me, like ultimately,
I didn't like how they switched it to Sunday. I liked it when earlier in the year it was Thursday,
Saturday.
Friday, Saturday.
Right. But even then, like last day, whatever the last day is, like it's like a final. It's like the 2-minute drive in football. It's like the last couple laps of NASCAR. It's like that's when I'm locked in, ready to go. When you do the shotgun start format, you do the 54 holes. Like, did Stinson finish on hole 7 and win the tournament?
Right.
And like, were you watching 3 different screens, and then everybody was just like, oh yeah, like the suspense of coming down 18. Even Finau with a 5-shot lead is just like he gets the coronation of earning the tournament victory, or whoever does gets that. So I don't know. That's personal opinion on the.
And
Live
again,
from
I
that
don't know.
perspective,
I don't know how Live, if it's like predetermined every single round before. I'd have to look back to see where Stenson started and finished on round 3.
I mean, I think he led the whole tournament.
He was right at the top pretty much the whole tournament.
Right.
I know DJ led at one point. Reed actually led at one point as well.
Right.
But it was something similar to Tony Finau, where it's basically wire to wire.
Right. But I mean, even with those guys golfing, they're all playing with the whole shotgun thing. I mean, I think that's the toughest thing to get used to in golf, is that like if you're not in a match play scenario and you're also not in a build up to final 3 holes, final 6 holes scenario, like do you ever get to a point where like the team stuff definitely matters more and is easier to track within that, because it feels more like the Ryder Cup when you're looking at the team points going back and
they're
forth.
all over the course.
So like I think they're correct in what they're doing with that, and in not trying to.
I think their most successful week 100% is going to be the team tournament week that they have. Like that's going to be their most successful because it's a completely different.
When is it?
I let me pull that up. I'd have to pull up their schedule here quick. It is, so they end in Miami October 27th and 30th, I think. Is when it'll be.
So, yeah, it'll literally be, I mean, there's also nothing else going on at that. I mean, football, but, like, I can only assume and hope that when they run that tournament.
It's Saturday and not Sunday?
Correct. Like,
Well,
they're dumb if they run it on a Sunday.
And that's what a point that I was going to mention is they're not at the level where they're even going to come close to compete with the PGA Tour with viewership.
Oh.
And just like you said, I mean, you know Tony Finau, he's your boy, so it's one of those things where you're 100%. You don't care if he's playing in the Barracuda Championship.
I'm going to tune.
You're going to tune into that rather than the
like,
live
I mean,
final round.
I mean, I don't know if fewer people tuned in for the Rocket Mortgage Classic or fewer people tuned in for Live, but like I had the choice and I tuned in for one and not the other. So like that just comes like that from a golf perspective.
Haven't you said in the past that you don't actually know how to tune into Live?
No, you can watch Live on YouTube.
Okay.
Yep. So
we did say that, yes, but then we realized
you could, yes.
Yeah.
By the way, it's still just.
But I have actively chosen not to do anything. Like I'll go see who's leading just on ESPN.
Just 'cause?
But I have actively chosen not to try to watch. Just,
Yeah.
I mean, not even.
Like, there's a lot of shade thrown at the YouTube stuff, but as long as you're putting a quality production out, it's just another platform. You know, like MLB has done a couple games of the week on YouTube and stuff like that, and so there are certainly worse productions out there. Worse
CBS
places.
golf production
CBS
is garbage
itself.
like this. Like I don't think the golf production
Majority
on
of what the
normal TV is
PGA
good.
Tour has is
not
awful.
good. Like Live is already ahead
Really,
of
just the
them.
majors are really the only good things.
They do a lot of great.
they do their own
things
thing.
and interactive things.
So is the writer and all that, right? It's like, come on.
Some of it's too busy, in my opinion.
So that's what it is. So you have the mainstream, even in the mainstream of like the PGA Tour, you see the same 2, 3, 4 groups. Within Live, they try to show basically everybody, regardless if you're 7 over or 7 under, they are trying to show as many shots as possible, which is great for a main feed. But then I personally feel like it'd be awesome to, just like we talked about, okay, maybe you should just play with your team. So then you can have, okay, I want to watch the Majestics team play their whole 18. I want to watch
the Majestics,
Crushers, you know,
just individually
I like
go.
that.
Just like when you get the Masters, you can select your pairings.
Exactly.
And go watch through.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Nope, I agree with that. I think going back to like the F1 comparison though, like I think their graphics are like NASCAR and race
100%
based.
they're trying.
But like we don't really watch the cars necessarily. Like, you know, it's not golf shots. Whereas that takes away some from the actual. It's like no. I still want to like watch the golf. I don't need purple, yellow, pink, green leaderboard over here, whatever you called it, transition over here from this team to this team, and then I got the team scores over here, and it's like, whoa, like that guy just hit a wedge from 115 and then went to 2 feet. Like, let's focus on that. Like, so sometimes
The shot is the shot.
There's a combination of the PGA does not do a good enough job, and Live might even be over the top. So like,
They'll find it.
there's a fine line in
There's
there,
going to
but
find balance.
But
we'll get there.
But just to quickly go down our picks, you had mentioned so Cole, Cam Young, T2, good week this week. Another top 3 finish, I should say. Stowaway, Cam Davis.
Yeah, a little Cam Davis.
I mean, you went T3.
Rory got
before.
third.
Yeah.
What an idiot!
Yeah,
Because Cam Young made an eagle.
yeah, which was
Stowaway.
It's irrelevant, but yes. good point.
Stowaway
a little T14.
took Cam Davis. Good, solid top 15.
Came roaring back. I love
T14 there. Steve coming in hot. Asked on Sunday, I believe, or Saturday, if he was safe with his homo pick. He was safe with his homo pick with a top 25 finish in a T24.
Never a doubt.
First pick, just a Homa top.
And
T24,
then I
baby.
missed the cut with Davis Riley.
Just a dinger Tuesday type
Just
of
a
pick.
dinger Tuesday. We'll get to
2
dinger
games
Tuesday.
left. 2 games left. I got to
Riley.
pick for.
Davis,
I got 2 games.
Davis Riley.
Gosh, I
Strawberries.
don't know who would even think
Did you
about
did you
picking
still
that guy.
99 it?
Combo.
Combo.
I just
some 99s. And
so Davis Riley
guess
to
we'll
miss the
Eddie,
cut.
Eddie something.
Deep Eddies.
Davis
Eddie's.
Riley was 3 strokes above the cut line, or better than the cut line.
Who would have
Got a 4, or sorry,
quad.
quadruple bogey
Yep.
to go drop below the cut line, and then he bogeyed like 2 holes later.
I sensed that on a Tuesday last week.
Yeah, so you switched.
No, you didn't.
Oh no, you sensed it.
The negotiations
know
going
what
into this thing was insane, and it worked out so poorly.
It worked out poorly because I made 2 picks, and one was for Cole, and Cole got second.
Tracks. That's why he's on the bottom of the list.
So then we'll jump down to live because we did make some live picks for the first time this past week. We'll start bottom to top because Steve went 24-24 on both of them. Just consistency all across the board.
Nothing wrong with that.
Chikara, Eugenio Chikara.
The fact that you have a shitty shot because of 24th kind of sucks.
I mean, it is what it
Welcome to
is.
my world.
You're not wrong. I took Matt Jones. He got 19th.
Who?
Matt Jones. Cole with the Taylor Gooch top 10. And Stoy, Patrick Reed, 5th.
Easy.
So Gooch,
easy.
Easy
Reed,
money.
Johnson, Gooch, Reed, DJ are all on the same team, correct?
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember who their 4th is. Yeah, that's why.
That's
I mean,
why
they
the
went
easiest
3,
one.
5, 10. Didn't even matter. They went.
It doesn't even matter.
They went
It's only
32nd
the
with Pat
Pat
Perez.
Right.
And
Yeah.
it's only top 3.
Yep.
So they go.
All right, Steve.
Yeah, Pat Perez was like, he's on a Phil Mickelson run
This
of
is
like
poop.
plus 40.
What'd you
over
get?
his
What is
last-
this worth from a monetary perspective to
4
you
rounds.
guys? I would buy out of these in a heartbeat.
That's at least $5 a guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
$15?
It's per shot, per shitty shot.
Done. Wow. You can keep that.
What?
You lowballed it. Why did you do that?
This is
Wow.
absurd. Don't. Stop it. Just do one.
Put it in the pot. No, let's put it in the pot. We'll use it to.
Oh, that's fine. We
we'll
can
bet
use
on
our
it.
for our charity. Our charity.
That'll be
betting.
it'll be charity. pot.
That's part of our
Put it right
fun.
under here.
This
So
is
like,
hey,
are we just saying?
ladies and
You
gentlemen.
can buy out of your shot.
It's
Can you hit the
per-
trap? Can you hit the trap horn here?
Yeah, hold.
That's breaking. That's the first time that it's ever happened.
Yeah, rule change. All of a sudden, just
You can
out of
buy
nowhere.
out.
I won't be doing
Did
it.
you feel like I lowballed?
No. I felt like he could have went either way, but not as easy as. Just
I mean, I felt like I've
done.
never paid $15 for a shot in my life.
Wait, here's the question.
It's
well,
not about the cost of the shot, baby. I promise you
like
that.
none of us would have.
No, not a chance.
Like, would you pay $1 to get out of one? I would have paid like $7,
Total?
$20 to get out of like 3 of them last week.
yeah, something like that.
Like when you're just
Not
in
one
no
with
like,
none behind it.
I feel like he set a precedent though. Like
did.
for weeks that we have 4 or 5, in order to buy out a 2 or 3 is $5 a shot.
Yeah, that's right.
Per person.
I think it's negotiable though, right?
Yeah, but it's per shot.
Per person.
Yeah.
So like if you had 3
If you
this
had
week,
3,
you
it'd
would
be
have been
$45.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, no, thank you.
I'd consider it.
Good for the show.
Wow.
Good for the show. Well, the precedent set it
Look at
is
this
now.
Guys, we just have to
Look at this
destroy
guy.
him every week, and we're gonna be rich at the end of this.
We had so many free bets. That's one way to get free bets.
Yeah, but to him now with all the bets, it's just a money
Yeah,
thing,
right,
and we're sitting here going shitty shot. Now that changes, it ups our shitty shot.
Somebody must have had a good Dinger Tuesday. That's all.
It's Dinger
yet.
Tuesday.
Not yet.
Did Aaron Judge hit 3 more home runs or what happened?
I did hit an Aaron Judge bet yesterday. Yeah.
All right, well,
Guy's
by
been
myself,
in
lone
fuego.
wolf.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Ow.
Steve's gonna have some Sprite with you. And
I got bourbon.
I've been on my gin and tonic kick.
Tastes like air fresheners.
It's just a great summer beverage.
It's not good. If I wanted to eat a pine cone, I would.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what I like to suck
what
on.
you-
All right, so
piney
that's
spruce trees.
that's our Rocket Mortgage.
Shit ton of.
You
Sp-
suckle on a spruce.
all right, sorry.
That's our Rocket Mortgage, and is it Bedminster? No, it was
It's just live.
Trump
just
National, whatever.
Yeah.
Live
just-
recap there.
Live recap.
Rakat. All right, let's get into news. Anyone have any news? We got a lot of news.
Depends on what. I mean, are we focusing on one sport, multiple sports, all over the?
I don't think we can
Realm.
break down to college and NFL at this point.
Okay, that's fair.
Not till
Are we
get
just
into
focusing on football, or are we?
No. This is open news.
I mean,
Do we want?
I could be an NL West guy right now and just pull it up. The Padres have had just a
Did the deal
absolute
get finalized?
blocked- No, Eric Hosmer blocked
no.
it.
Well, let's start.
So they had-
start from the beginning, please.
Okay.
For the listeners.
So from the beginning, the Padres. So Juan
Major League
Soto-
Baseball.
Major League Baseball.
Do you have it on your Twitter?
I'll have to pull it back. I'd have to pull it back up. But So Juan Soto has been the big talk, right? He's been, okay, he's the guy that the Nationals offered him a hefty contract, and he didn't take it. The Nationals are the worst team in baseball right now, so rightfully so, he didn't take it. I'm going to pull it up on Goon Squads.
That works. Either way, I'm just going to put your screen on.
So 6 hours ago, we'll just go with Jeff Passan because this is the first one. Talking about the San Diego Padres are finalizing a deal to acquire superstar outfielder Juan Soto from Washington. For those who don't know, Juan Soto is, I would argue, a generational talent. Young, 23, I think we said, correct, Stoy?
Correct.
23 years old, and I think you mentioned it earlier, like realistically could potentially be the first $1 billion player in the MLB.
Correct.
That was a blockbuster trade in itself because the Padres had just gotten Josh Hader from the Brewers, who's a solid closer, solid relief pitcher. So that was a huge deal in itself, having Juan Soto, Fernando Tatis, and Manny Machado on one team. And you got guys like Will Myers and a guy we'll mention later on, Eric Hosmer, who are good ball players as well. And then all of a sudden it comes out that Josh Bell is a part of this deal. Josh Bell, first baseman, has been, I'd have to look it up, but I believe he's a multiple-time All-Star. Just makes that lineup even more filthy.
This means nothing, but I don't know who that is.
Josh Bell?
Yep.
Used to be for the Pirates. Used to play for the Pirates.
I mean,
And there's a lot of teams that even if you had a first baseman, you would take Josh Bell.
Any relation to Albert?
Yeah.
No? Okay. I know Albert Bell.
Oh, you do?
Played for the Indians, White Sox.
I mean, maybe.
Also, fun fact, camera 1 doesn't go to the screen, so I can't pull you up.
It's probably because it's not plugged in.
Probably.
Steve, Josh Bell, is he a good Dinger Tuesday guy?
I mean, he hits a lot of home runs,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
I mean, he was in the home run derby 2 years ago, maybe. He's got 14 homers this year. He's hitting 301.
That's fair.
So, like
Sounds
I said,
like a solid ball player.
he's a good ball player. The thing that I will pull up on my Twitter because I just can't believe this is at one point, the Nationals had Bryce Harper, Anthony Rendon, Max Scherzer, Trey Turner, and Juan Soto all on their team at one time. They will not have any of those guys after this trade.
So
The Nationals are, I don't even know who their front office is, but they are struggling.
Yeah, I think that reflects on leadership more than anything.
That's what I'm saying. Like
it's an organization that players don't want to be a part of long term. I think.
Correct.
I mean,
yeah.
I just,
how could
I just started following baseball this year.
why?
Really?
And why is that, Steve?
Sports betting.
Betting of the sports.
Yeah, I know it was big news when Bryce Harper wanted to leave because is he from there or is he from Philly?
he's from Las Vegas.
He's from Vegas.
Yep.
I don't know if I don't know if he's from Vegas. I think he's from Arizona and then played in Vegas with the whatever high school.
When he was
team.
like 16, he graduated high school early, went and played like a year at JUCO or something like that.
Gotcha.
Because he was like LeBron, like at age 14, he was hitting 450-foot bombs in Vegas.
Because I think it's old. Is it the old Tampa Bay Stadium? I think he holds a record for like now it was with a metal bat, but it was like the record for longest home run or something like that. It was insane.
Yep.
But regardless, so the best part about this deal is when you looked at it on paper, it doesn't make sense. Even with Hosmer, it doesn't make sense for the Nationals to get rid of those two players who, guy's hitting 301 and a guy is a generational talent.
Mm-hmm.
But then you have Eric Hosmer from the San Diego Padres, who has a list of 10 teams and a no-trade clause, and the Nationals are one of those 10 teams.
Probably near the top.
So the Nationals, the worst team in baseball right now, and you're asking this guy to waive his no trade clause for you to make a blockbuster deal just to push for
To better your team.
right. And
he's got like
Hosmer's got a ring
$40
too.
million left on his deal.
Yeah. Yep. He's got 3 years, $40 million.
Can you be a good person and go over there?
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
The Padres saying,
Basically, is
I think the Padres saying, hey, Eric Hosmer, just leave a 58 win, solid Padres team, contending for a playoff spot, and now with these, you're pushing to win a World Series because this is a big deal.
Right.
Leave here and go to the worst team in baseball.
Right.
That's already on your no trade list.
Right.
And Hosmer said no,
absolutely
killing the deal. So I think at one point, and this was probably an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours ago, they had 5 hours to figure out what they were going to do with Hosmer. And the last I saw was him going to the Red Sox.
The Sox.
Oh, they're going to bring a third team into the deal?
I think that's.
they're
I
gonna
mean,
have to.
that's all they can do.
Because they can't keep him on with that salary to make it work. Or at least that was my understanding.
Let's look at the latest of the Hosmer trade.
I think some funny tweets we had.
Ron
see
Burgundy.
you see
my
the
favorite one.
you see the Wolf of Wall Street.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not. I mean, I can say it for this. I'm not fucking leaving. You see that tweet. You see Lee Corso.
He did it. He
I
does
can
it every
say
time.
it for this because it's in context.
It's a
It's
context.
like,
movie
yell
quote.
at your 3-year-old who cusses when they use the word right.
Exactly.
All right.
Exactly.
It's like,
Yeah.
That's
I
a
mean,
proud dad moment.
I'm not a just any dad. I'm a cool dad.
Right.
That's what I'm gonna say. But then you have the Lee Corso one. It's like, not so fast, my friend.
Right.
And then you have this guy that says this is the most power Eric Hosmer has had all season.
That was a good one.
Probably
Like
his whole career.
they're just.
I loved it. It was great.
But the thing is everybody's gonna be frustrated with Eric Hosmer that's in San Diego, right?
Well, yeah,
For
that's why.
killing this. But at the same time,
As a fan,
blames the
and then
guy?
and then you go, yeah, well,
But the thing is like Eric Hosmer is one of the that guy I definitely know. He's one of the most likable people in baseball.
right.
And so, I mean, he's like,
What? Who? There's not a person that would take that deal.
that's why I think the Ron Burgundy meme is the funniest,
Yeah.
just because he's beloved by San Diego, obviously, in the movie, and then, he's just reading the teleprompter and F you, San Diego.
Yeah.
Like, that's Hosmer's like, yeah, no.
Nope. I was read what was put in front of me, and there's
Right.
no way I'm taking that deal.
like
not-
I just
Oh, good.
So
As
it's like, is that just stupidity on the Padres' part? Did they think he was going to say yes?
they had to have.
Never hurts to ask.
You have to shoot your shot,
Never
right?
hurts to ask.
Even after he specifically,
So-
he only had to list 10 teams on his no trade clause. I'm like,
One of them is out there.
So here's the thing: last year the Nationals were not on that.
Yeah,
You can change it obviously year over
when they
year,
get rid of their best player
right?
for the third year in a row. They got rid of another best player. I think he finally realized, like, whoa, I see what they're doing over there.
Right. Like, ooh, gross.
They're getting paid to lose.
I mean,
I like it.
I'm just. This just goes to show you, though, that in these professional organizations, these guys are pawns, and
All right.
you're basically just.
They're being pretty well compensated for
Right.
being
I mean-
pawns.
I mean, I'll
But they are.
pawn me up, Scotty.
However,
that's all I gotta say.
It's a bit, but it's a
why
business. Like,
important no trade clauses? Like that's why there's
You
a lot
are,
of value there.
and they get some say.
What is
yeah.
You're an
the
expendable
structure
person.
for
You're a resource.
MLB
right?
salary?
Okay,
cap?
yeah. What's that?
Like I don't.
There is no MLB salary
Okay,
cap.
great answer.
I
There we
don't
go.
believe anyway.
There is, but it's
You pay luxury tax then.
Yes, there is, and there's.
That's why the Dodgers have
I have
so
to go
many good
back.
players and stuff like that.
I'd have to go back.
No, there
because
there
I
is
read.
none.
I read there isn't.
No, there's payroll limits.
Okay, so, but there's no.
There's no true cap. There's just a floor.
I don't even think.
MLB
I don't even
does
know if
not
there's a
have
floor.
a set salary cap. The luxury tax charges teams with high payrolls a considerable amount of.
there
money,
is a
giving
luxury tax,
teams
just no
ample
salary
reason
cap.
to want to keep their payrolls.
Yeah, but I'm
below
pretty sure they
that
put a
level.
floor in the a few years ago because teams were not paying. Like there were teams that had.
I mean, you look at the
payroll less than
is it
single
the
players.
Orioles?
210 threshold.
No, the Orioles. The Orioles' entire organization, I think, makes less money than Max Scherzer's deal.
Right. Like
There is
yeah,
no
I mean,
floor.
No floor.
I think that there was discussion of a
Such
floor, like
as-
because the
Okay.
Marlins started
That's what it was.
just chopping.
Orioles,
That's when
resources.
Taylor got out
Pirates,
of the Marlins organization. 'cause
Orioles,
he was like,
Pirates,
really? Like,
Marlins spend less on their entire active rosters than some other teams spend on one starting pitcher.
Yep. So that's Max Scherzer is that prime example because he just got a huge deal, and that's what it is.
but like people love baseball because of that. Because like
Would you
the
want-
underdog wins a lot in baseball because baseball is team.
Correct.
It's roster build. I mean, it's money ball.
Your bet. So
some
Soto bats 5 times a game max.
Right.
Right.
Well,
so
not max, but usually.
generally speaking,
Yes.
if you're talking about consistency, like maybe just over 4 times a game on average,
Yeah.
that guy would bat in a game. And so he can impact the game. Say he hits 4 solo shots, very easy to still lose 5-4.
Yeah.
You know, like that one player can have an impact, but not as significantly, as consistently, you
Right.
know? And so it's hard. It is truly a team game. Like you have to have contributing people top to bottom. And that, yeah, like that's why Ohtani is such a cool.
Yeah, but like, why are the Angels so bad? They got 2 of the best players in baseball.
Yeah, we can. That's a whole other deal. We can dive into that if we want to, but
Well, because like the question was posed the other day when I was listening to the radio of if you could have Ohtani or Soto for the next 10 years, and to me it's like, how is the answer not Ohtani?
yeah, I would want Ohtani because he gives you an everyday contributor
And
who
every fifth
also it pitches. He's also a starting pitcher and a phenomenal starting pitcher at that.
Right.
Now the
Consistently hammer 12 plus
what's he-
Ks with Ohtani.
He's like 9.5 or something like that. 9-5. I
well,
think
like the
this year or
pundits would
something.
say longevity because you're playing so often. Age, he's older. I'm trying to think of like the reasons.
Yeah,
you
there
would
are
not.
reasons that you wouldn't want to, but I think
Because
in
what was the deal Soto got offered
440
10
million.
10 mil, 440.
for 10 years though?
Yeah.
So like, how is Ohtani not a 10-year, $1.5 billion guy?
They're still
Does
paying
both.
off
Age.
his they're still paying off his Japanese
Right, but I'm just saying, like when
contract.
his contract comes around, like he does.
Oh,
both
he'll be
at
a
amount.
$500,000
He would be an
player
all-star
easy.
pitcher and/or hitter.
Good
right?
thing for him.
Yeah.
Judge is going to set a lot of his market too, because Judge is 33, older, hitting bombs.
Yeah.
It's gonna help even or not Soto. Well, at that depends when he signs. It's gonna help his, but Otani's is gonna be huge. Really, really
Otani's
good.
still on his like adjusted deal. I was just talking about this with Evan actually as well. Like why aren't they trying to move Otani? It's because he's so cheap right now.
Right, but I mean, if he gets into next year, then he's only got 1 year left on his deal, and people aren't going to pay as much to rent him for half a season as they would to rent him for a season and a half.
Well,
Just
the idea
please.
would be likely that it'd be a sign and trade or an understanding that he would sign a long term deal with
Right.
that organization.
Yeah,
Like
that's fair.
That's what I'm like with Soto. That's why I stated today in the barbershop and told Ryan he could be the first $1 billion player because he can get 2 big deals, assuming he keeps producing because he's so
Yeah.
young. He can go a 10-year and another 6 to 10 year.
Yeah, but like, why do you? I mean, the 10-year deal seems like so long in professional sports these days. I know it
Yeah.
removes old school thought because like guys were just thought to be
Why wouldn't you do 2 5s?
yeah, like as a player.
Bigger number,
You could
another
s-
5. Like
because somebody, I think 10-year and giving yourself that contract, why not sign it? Because you can still get traded away. You can still have those things. Like you can still have those opportunities and those options. Why wouldn't I sign this deal that says, okay, yeah, I have
I just feel like I'm
440.
handcuffing and hamstringing myself for success. If ultimately I want to win by signing a 10-year, $440
But that's-
million deal.
But just like you said, that's why Soto didn't take this because he's on
Well,
the
it's 'cause
worst
then
team in baseball.
they're so bad.
That's true. All right.
A lot of people would have taken that, but he's on the worst team in baseball that's offering one of the most lucrative contracts we're ever going to see,
yes.
and
Facts.
he's just like, no, I don't want to because
Your
he wants to be
organization is
competitive.
poo-poo.
He wants to be competitive. He understands his value.
Yeah, but like I mean, how long ago were the Mets crap, and how long ago were
Currently,
the Padres crap?
Oh, the Mets are not crap right now.
No, not right now.
No, they're
they're
currently-
good.
they're
I'm just saying, like 3 years ago, like I just feel like the turnover,
that's-
specifically in baseball, is just so consistent. They're like signing a 10-year contract. He's going to go through 6 of those
But
10
it's
years
a-
on a shit team.
It's a front office,
Yeah.
but if it's a
Yeah,
front
at a
office
minimum.
thing,
no matter where he goes.
a lot of baseball is front office stuff because there's teams that have maybe one bad year in every 10 years, but they have a sustainability of success.
Yeah.
And that's a front office thing in baseball.
Oh,
And
I don't disagree with that.
That's why, you know,
But you asked
Red
Cubs
Sox,
against 5 years ago.
we've been talking crap about the Red Sox, but year in and year out, talking about the Red Sox about to make the playoffs or about to make a World Series or about to make a pennant.
Right.
They have been very consistent. They've just fallen apart. Like I saw a stat where it was like literally they were the number one, like it was the longest stretch of just like the worst baseball possible, like a combination of a variety of stats, and they were the worst team, and they had teams going back historically like 100 years, and that stretch was the worst.
Out of luck or just pure like bad?
They're pure bad. I mean, they were making terrible plays. They were getting beat 28-4. Like it was an atrocious stretch of baseball that the Red Sox were playing. I think it was just before the All-Star break and then coming back. And that's the other thing is like it's
but that's not on front office, is it? Like the front office wasn't making them play like
no, but that's a stretch during the season. The Cleveland Indians, what was it, 2017 or 18 when they had the longest win streak in baseball history, and then the next year I think they missed the playoffs completely.
Right.
March of 2022 is the extent of my historical knowledge of baseball.
Yes. But like, look at the Cubs, like the Cubs 6 years ago when they won the World Series had
2012.
Okay, to be fair, let's not bring the Cubs in.
Yeah,
they were good for 1 year.
Yeah, but I mean,
in the last 130.
They allegedly had the front office at that point. That's what I'm going back to. Is that like, and now they don't, and it's 10 years later, but like technically it's like they had the front office for 7 more years after that and never did a damn thing.
I mean, they made the NL championship, the NL pennant, like 2 or 3 years in a row.
They played good baseball. You only talk about the World Series champion.
But if I right. But if I'm just saying, like, if I was Soto and I signed a 10-year contract in 2013 for the Cubs, thinking that they have a great front office, right? That's the scenario we're talking about here.
Yes.
4 years into it, their front office is dog shit.
No, but here's the thing that front office does, and I don't want to say I guarantee this because I'm obviously not a baseball exec, but that front office says, okay, we're paying one guy so much money that he's kind of handcuffing us. We're going to offload him somewhere.
Oh, yeah,
somebody's
Jason Hayward?
Exactly.
Been with the Cubs, still with the Cubs last I checked.
Oh, yeah, but but what I'm saying is if I'm looking at it from a baseball exec standpoint of what I would do, I'd try and offload that guy. Jason Hayward, when his production drops like this and his value drops like that, the Cubs would have to pay somebody to take him.
Yeah, but you can't tell me after I get a 10-year, $440 million deal and my team sucks that my production's not going to drop eventually. Because I just don't care anymore. I already got paid.
I think as a 23-year-old player in Juan Soto, he's still going to care because he wants to have a long career. He doesn't want to be 33 and leave the game of baseball.
Why not? None of these live guys want to golf anymore.
Baseball players and golfers are not.
Yeah, it's
just not even true.
Mentally the same.
I disagree with that. I just think when you get that much money over a small period of what would be your lifetime, that no matter what, a couple of years of struggle change your mindset. You are a different person. I firmly believe that if I'm going to struggle for a couple of years knowing that I'm going to get paid, unless something catastrophic happens to me personally, I am never going to build myself into the ball player I was before I got.
It would take a player of that. I think it takes a younger player at 23 longer to acknowledge that and to have that drop off. So
fair
I think
on the age thing.
So I think at maybe at year 4 or 5, just like you said, he's still got his value there. Somebody's going to be like, okay, you know what? We can try and offload this guy to a team that's going to pay him the money because he's still a stud. We're going to get some farm system guys for these guys, and we're going to offload a ton of money. And
what we're saying
rebuild.
is Aaron Judge is going to suck in like 4 or 5 years.
Yeah,
because that's the scenario. He's 33.
Absolutely.
Get a 10-year deal.
100%
done by 38.
Cool host junior.
Yeah, I like it. All right.
Yep.
Done with MLB news. What do we want to go next? Anyone other news? I mean, there's big news that we've had in our chat.
I mean, we have.
Let's finish with NFL.
Other sports news.
Little loop golf
Oh,
Our
yes.
boys
Yeah,
over
we
at
can go to Loop Golf. We can
got
go
an
those.
email today.
We did.
They've
They've been
was
all
bittersweet
over
about it.
social media as well.
They're good. I mean, they're doing the right things.
They're doing the right things.
Besides one thing that Stoy doesn't like.
Right. I mean, why build the app for iOS only? Like, I don't whatever. But
Who
No,
run the
but you're
world?
making an app.
no, I'm
iPhone,
about
aren't
to
you?
steal one of yours. We got good news by them that they, within the next week or two, will be coming out with their app. And their app is going to have, overall, their app is for betting on golf
Golf betting,
with your
yes.
buddies for now. And then it's supposed to grow into betting professionally through their app. What's great about the app
It's gonna be like
is
prize picks, like daily fantasy type stuff, or
No,
It's
no,
like
like
on course.
golf.
us playing
We are
with each
golfing.
other.
oh,
Match play.
yes,
Gotcha.
they're starting with match
Gotcha.
play, which is going to be great.
I think match play is the most competitive thing that they can do.
Well, it's the most common. It's easiest.
Mm-hmm.
Build it out, let it run.
Cole
And
could
then
beat
go
me by
from there.
10 strokes, Matt. 10 strokes stroke play. And
Best part is you have to have a registered handicap.
Which I saw that. What I didn't know and couldn't really gather from that is that if you have to implement the handicap within the betting.
I mean, I'm
good
assuming it does it automatically for you, but I wonder if
Maybe
you
we
can
should
take
ask
it
them.
off on
You
your
can
own.
shut
We
it
should
off.
ask them.
Yeah. I mean, is
Let
it
us roll it out when
is
it
it
rolls
shut
out.
offable?
Because like if I play with a 4, 5, and 7, like there's in match play, there's no need for anybody to give or get strokes.
Right.
Like
But if you're playing me, then yeah, or
right, that makes more sense.
It's got to be.
And also, unless you ask for strokes, I'm not just like walking in and be like, oh, you know what? I feel
give
like
you 12.
giving Ryan 12 today.
Right.
Like, no. Like, I mean, 100% you should ask, and 100% I should give them. But, like, let's just not assume that it's going to happen.
Yeah.
I don't want that app assuming that I'm giving somebody strokes when money's on the line.
I'm keeping our 10 stroke thing that we had,
fair.
and I think
Yeah, but you can't.
I'm
have
going to beat you.
strokes
I'm
in
going to
match
beat
play
you. I'm going to beat you though.
because
so
my
angry about it.
goal
Because last time we played, I
Yeah,
forgot my turn dog and I messed up.
he sucked on the back nine.
He went off.
Because playing
the
you in
cliff.
match play, like I also am not exactly sure how the handicap factor would factor into match play because I'm not
Basically, like,
giving you 10 holes
No,
of the 18.
It'd basically be like
that's-
4 holes, like something
Right.
like 4 holes you give them.
There's got to be some algorithm where it's like, okay, you give me a stroke on all par fives or something.
Regardless, though, we're gonna find out because I don't have an iOS, but we do on the squad.
Squad.
And when it rolls out, we'll get to play around with it. We'll get the Loop Golf guys on, and they can go through a whole digest
Perfect.
of what their app's about.
It's exciting though. I mean, it's
needed.
100%. There
'Cause I'm
there
tired of
are
doing
some.
math.
I've seen some stuff like pop up on my Instagram and stuff where it's like, oh, this is the next generation betting app. This is this. But looking at Loop's kind of guidelines, rules that they have in their development of it, it makes sense. It's above
I
those.
think the thing I'd be most not most excited, but really excited about is if like your group of guys, a few of them went out and you can bet on them while they're playing and you're not there.
Oh,
When they talked about that, I was like, oh, that's
100%. Like their
good
community,
stuff.
I think is their community is
Yeah,
what they call it,
when it
and
builds up,
that's
yeah.
one of the best things. Like, okay,
I
I'm
would
watching
love it.
I'm watching Stoy and Cole play at Deer Run,
and all of a sudden we get a ding.
and it's like, oh,
Ryan just put $5 on this stroke for me. Cubs not trading Contreras and Happ?
Contreras and Happ are still Chicago Cubs.
well, so that was one of the
Good for them. Good move by the front
that
office.
was one of the
Those guys already
deals.
said goodbye though.
I know.
Yeah, it's so
Yeah, it's so
ridiculous. That like they did that with Mancini in Baltimore. They did it with a couple guys where it's just like I saw them like giving farewells, and it's like, okay,
That
you
was-
don't even know if they're leaving. One, where they're going to.
And now they're
like,
That was
back,
another
so,
yeah.
Padres thing.
So like,
It was going to be Hosmer. It was going to be Hosmer, and then they have a really, really good AAA catcher
trade
that's
deadline
young.
ended.
That
at
was
5?
gonna. That was going. It ends at 6 Central,
6 Central?
Yeah. No.
That was 5
or is it
Central.
5 Central?
6 in Eastern.
I think it's 6 Eastern, 5
5
Central.
Central.
I think
Okay.
it's done right now.
Yeah.
But regardless, so I think that was one of the big deals, and that's maybe what killed it. I don't know.
Love it.
Did Hosmer just kill trade day?
One can hope so.
Yeah, I mean, that definitely dominated a news cycle. Was
but he was
Soto.
he was in talks with obviously the Nationals, and Hosmer was also in talks with the Red Sox, and Hosmer was also in talks with the Cubs.
Timeline.
Yeah.
Like he was in talks everywhere. One, that shows, okay, Padres just want to get rid of him because they want to make this deal happen.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm Hosmer,
Hosmer went to the
Hosmer.
He's Red Sox.
He's Red Sox.
He is? Okay, so that's where
Two teams announced the trade.
So they just made
Padres are paying $44 million to the Red Sox to reduce the Boston's commitment to Hosmer to the league minimum.
that makes sense.
So they're paying
off his contract.
They're paying Hosmer to leave.
They're paying off Hosmer's contract, and realistically,
They just had to find
so
a team
bringing
to pay- to
bringing
take
in
it.
Josh Bell,
Boston also got 2 prospects
From Boston.
from what?
From Boston, right?
Boston is acquiring prospects.
Oh,
They got San
they got
Diego's
44
prospects.
million.
who they
prospects.
did they get the catcher?
Corey Rozier and Max Ferguson. I don't know.
No, okay, no, that's not the catcher that I was talking about.
Wow.
The catcher for the Padres, Compensau or something like that. He's a stud.
Wow.
But oh man,
So on top of signing Soto for an insane money,
So they got
amount of
Soto
money,
and Bell.
they threw another $44 million to the Red Sox with a couple players.
All in, baby.
I mean, I guess when you're paying $440 million, what's another 44?
Yeah.
I mean,
But
it
are
was
they though?
10%
Or
for
they
those
just
counting out.
Are they just going to rent them for this year?
Who the hell knows? I don't know.
it was
We don't know.
I'm
yet.
all out of baseball.
All right.
Then let's move on.
Let's move on.
Do we have any Dinger Tuesday picks? Are we going to get a little Dinger Tuesday insider over there?
We got to get to the hot topic today that we didn't finish.
That's true.
Is the Watson deal?
Oh yeah, let's talk Watson. What do you? I mean, everybody knows what's going on with him, right?
I don't think that needs to be
Unless you live
explained.
under a rock or don't have the internet or some
I feel like if
combination
you're listening
of
to
both.
us, you should know what's going on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Deshaun Watson, let's be honest.
Absolutely.
So got dealt a 6-game suspension for a variety of sexual assaults.
Alleged.
Well, yes. We'll
technically-
stick with alleged because I'm not confident in
Criminally.
what is actually going on criminally.
Allegedly.
Right.
Uh,
Definitely sexual
but
misconduct.
civilly.
At the very least, sexual misconduct.
But civilly
Assaulted.
assaulted. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's law.
Alleged assaults, definitely misconduct. Definitely not representing team and or self.
Or is he representing himself the way he wants to be represented?
Well, I mean, then he's lied to us about how he would like to be represented.
So our
Yeah.
big thing was, how the hell did he get 6 games only?
Precedent.
One, is it what's fair, what's not in the games? Again,
Yeah.
who knows? But like the message that the NFL is now portraying, or currently continuously portraying, I don't know. Like
Continue.
I would say continuously because I would
Yes.
agree. Like our conversation was like my perspective on it was based on what Cole said as precedent, and you talk about. I mean, if I heard breakdown of this, so I haven't read the actual opinion from the arbitrator. I don't know
The person
what the word is.
who
the person who the NFL has
the
hired.
captaincy of the decision.
arbitratorship.
The person who the NFL has hired
Correct.
to do this,
Yes.
right? To make these decisions so that Goodell doesn't have to make these decisions. So,
That's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah, he's a pussy.
but I heard breakdown from a legal perspective, and so like she's a former judge, circuit court judge at the like a federal circuit court judge, and so she's reading it from a precedent perspective. I would assume anyway.
Yeah.
And so you talk about similar cases in the NFL, especially when there's no criminal element to it. It's very difficult. Like Ray Rice was an atrocity against a single human.
Right.
And so like how do you compare and contrast those situations? I don't know. But an atrocity against a single human. But that was if I'm remembering correctly, that was a 2-game suspension.
Correct.
Until
Initially.
the video came out.
Yeah.
Right. And then
career
TMZ
over.
got a hold of the video, and then now he hasn't had a career. Rightfully so on that
Oh,
one.
yeah, agreed.
Like that.
Right. But you also have to remember, I mean, just from a precedent standpoint, is like there was no settlement in that, and she pressed no charges. And as far as we know, they're still together.
Correct. Yeah.
So I mean, just from a complete other side
right.
of things, is like Ray Rice got banished after that video came out.
Yep. He did
because
the
video,
the visuals,
because
right?
visual,
Like there's
100%.
This is not a Robert Kraft situation where they've got video of him going into
Right.
the massage parlor, right? So,
I mean,
this
there
is
was
all-
there was also a video of Kareem Hunt, and he got 8 games.
yes, that is true. I don't know what to say about that.
First of all, Ray Rice looks skinnier and out right now.
Kareem Hunt was,
But they're still married, FY.
again, not the Ray Rice scenario in that someone came at him. Not that the action is, but like, each one of these things is different, and I feel like,
but I think
within law we set precedents based on what we see versus what we hear versus what we know, and that becomes in the NFL the most recognizable game on the face of the earth. That becomes a slippery slope when you're not taking each one of these cases and breaking them down from what they are in an individual standpoint, is my personal opinion on it.
I agree, because even after the Ray Rice thing, there was a punter actually, and I'm not bringing race into it, but it was a white punter, okay, who did the same thing to not his girlfriend, and he got a 1 game or a 4 game that got reduced to a 2 game, and was
because
still
we never
punting.
saw video on it.
Because we never saw video. It was settled outside and all of that. So that's where, like, me with the NFL, they're just a bunch of pussies, mainly Goodell, because you'll say something and do something for one, and then now it's a different case when it's very much the same, and now this person gets something else, and then this person gets something else, and this team does something else. Like, it's so hit or miss with no clear message, and the message is, we don't really give a shit about humanity per se. We care about our money and growing this brand for money only, not because of the brand, but because we make billions of dollars a year.
Was the evidence presented, like the video and stuff? Obviously, we didn't see it because we saw everything in the Ray Rice. Did we see? Did the NFL see this stuff?
I think there might have
in
been
that?
pictures of
The
the
NFL
girl
has more-
after, but like I don't know that there was.
The
any
NFL
video
has
of
more
the
shit that
incident.
we just wouldn't know.
Right.
Like
The NFL has
Roethlisberger, same
team
thing.
of
But like
an entire squad, like
So that was
40, 50 deep.
private
This is where-
investigators,
Yes.
former
So this is
FBI
where-
agents, stuff like that.
Yeah.
it goes along with the NFL's image that they want to keep. Ray Rice, everything came out public. Everybody saw that video. Everybody did this. So they're like, okay, we need to set an example with this guy because everybody sees this. If we don't do anything, then it's going to make us look worse. This punter, as bad as it is, because like you said, very, very similar situation and arguably the same situation, that video didn't come out. So then the NFL can say, oh, okay, well, that video didn't come out. It's not as public. It's not Ray Rice. It's not as polarizing of a player.
They can hide it.
We can hide
What
this a little bit.
how many games did Roethlisberger get? For
I don't
There's a whole
remember.
tweet.
bathroom
There's
and
all the
the-
tweets.
It was several games.
6, I think.
I mean, there's Ray Rice
conversation-
and Roethlisberger are kind of the two comparative.
Yeah,
items that are
so
coming out.
the difference that I've heard that I heard from a legal perspective and precedent perspective is both of those were violent offenses. And
Right.
after the review of this case, it was determined that this was non-violent sexual assault
Right.
or sexual
They
misconduct.
both got
Right.
6.
Yep.
And so
So
that's where, like, I'm guessing that the arbiter thought that she was handing down a very robust punishment because this is
right.
she again from this is all secondhand. I haven't read it directly, but
Right.
from what was stated, she called it predatory. She called it
She was not
very
impressed
bad.
with Watson.
Yeah,
whatsoever.
no doubt,
No.
no doubt.
It's
And so
serial.
yeah, and so there's actually a clause in there, I believe, so that he cannot seek outside massage.
Correct.
all by the team.
But,
which,
like,
by the way, the
The other
Texans also did.
precedent that is being set, which I guess from a legal perspective is true, is that he's being punished as a first time offender.
Yeah.
technically speaking, he's a 24-time.
29, 80, 40, whatever. It's not
the
one,
is,
and it's
but,
not
like,
two.
I mean, there
comes
are
with
numbers
no
as high as
past-
66.
Correct.
The New York Times
So-
reporter that broke the big
It's at least
case
4
was-
because we know that's like what this specific review was over,
But there's so many.
and like so many settled and all of that. And like that's not to say that some are different than others and whatever. The thing is that you don't get that many without doing something you shouldn't be doing.
Correct.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think
So-
that is the overarching theme, is that he was doing something he shouldn't have been doing, and he's well aware of that.
Correct.
At this point in time. And so what is an apt punishment for him? What is, like I said in the chat today when we were talking, like, I don't know what the right number of games is.
Right.
You mentioned a clause, like a reinstatement clause. I think there is a reinstatement clause.
Not in his.
Not
That's
in
what
his?
they were doing. The biggest thing.
Not
against,
currently,
Not currently.
because it'll get.
Goodell still has to sign off, and he could change things.
Yeah, I was
still.
gonna say, I would venture to guess
But
that
he's a pussy,
there's
it won't
some sort of reinstatement clause. Now, the NFL does have, I heard this just on my way over, the NFL does have the right to appeal to themselves, which would then put it in
to Goodell,
Goodell's
and
hands.
but this is why I was calling him.
And so,
But if
He
they
has no
do
balls.
that,
He won't.
here's the
that sets
the
another
next
precedent,
step.
by the way.
The precedent then becomes an appeal by Watson's
Yep.
group, which therefore would freeze the impending 6-game
he can play.
suspension. He would play until that whole
That was
thing goes
decided.
back through court of law, which we
Which-
all know how long that takes. He's playing an entire
But he
season.
also-
Court of
and,
law?
and he sat
Yeah, I mean, 'cause
out
they're going to
in,
go back through.
in Deshaun's appeal. They're gonna say, okay, he already sat out this. They're gonna ask for time served.
and
type
he's
deal.
already sat a year.
yeah.
Yeah, but that was he did. I mean, that's not a punishment when.
I agree, but like,
But they're gonna.
That's-
What in his
I mean,
appeal.
that's-
In his appeal, they're gonna say
Yeah, but
this was.
the
his
thing
own-
is, it depends on what like.
On his
So
own
if
recognizance.
Goodell came out and said
I
a
understand
year,
what you're saying.
then they'll probably appeal it. But they also don't want to appeal it and lose because now his big contract comes into play.
yeah, but they don't think that he is going to like.
it won't get there.
They
But
turned down a
12 game
12-game, $10 million deal
because of the
knowing, because you can't turn that down not knowing that it would have been less what they were getting,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
That's what I mean, though. If it gets drawn out like any of the Gates have, and it gets into next season, and then there is something, he loses more money.
Right, but if at any point, like
At some point
he's
they
still
will
going to
do
have one case, right, that's going to be tried.
There's
a
one
court
case
trial.
left. Yeah.
If something happens in that, he's losing all his money anyway.
Yeah, sure.
But
Which is
So
is
like
it
that's
civil or is
why
it criminal?
to me,
So I get the precedent thing. I understand it. It just makes no damn sense how someone serially can do this. And obviously, I will use Ridley as the counter to that. Of he is in a game being the NFL.
Mhm.
He was not on the team.
either was
was-
Watson at
he
the
was-
time though.
He was true. They're not on the teams,
Right.
right?
For
So
a few of them.
Right, I'm just saying,
Depending
like
on
generally
how you
speaking,
view-
like
guys,
like-
there's so many.
the
Depending on
NFL
timeline
is
you're looking
so
at, yeah.
they are so integrity of my football game, non-personal. Like that's why Vontaze Burfict has been basically banned from the league.
Yeah.
He questioned what he did was harming players within their game.
Yeah.
In their mind, the Ridley thing is the biggest. I mean, we've talked about
Yes.
this. The biggest joke in the NFL of suspensions I've ever seen, right up there with people being suspended for smoking weed. But in the NFL's mind, that is questioning their integrity of their game on their field in the biggest trillion-dollar industry in the world. And until people stop watching NFL football because of it, they're going to keep being assholes.
And
about
that was to your question, which I didn't answer because meetings, and then I wanted to answer it
Yeah.
on the pod. Is your question was, well, are you going to stop watching the NFL? No, because one, for us, football is inside of us. It is in our blood.
Yeah.
Where else do you watch football? College football, yes,
Yeah.
but NFL has that monopoly where they know they can basically do whatever they want because everyone's going to watch no matter what. And then you still have this giant group of good old boys, which basically NFL is a good old boys club, that if they want to control certain aspects, they will, i.e. the betting thing, which is funny because now they're in bed with every betting at possible. So
Correct.
to me, you lost that integrity. So how can you then go ahead and suspend, fine them, fine, whatever, but suspend for an entire year when you have no ability to change that game at all? Zero. If you're playing, like I said earlier when it actually came out, if you're playing, I 100% get it.
Yeah.
But when you're not even on the team because of mental health stuff, which I don't know why you're betting, different topic, like,
I think it's relative to the precedent. Like, it's been so long since we've seen a betting scandal with a player. Like, the one that comes to mind is Pete Rose, you know, and he's
a Hall of Famer. He's a Hall of Famer. That's all I'll say.
That's fine. I actually tend to agree as well, but
he's
got more out of it than
out of not being one than he has being one.
Yeah, he's famous for what he did and everything like that. But the only comparable thing you can really bring up is some of the like the NBA officiating point, or NBA is NBA or NCAA? NBA point shaving in with referees. Like, that's the only thing comparable. And I get what you're saying from a he didn't have an influence or things like that. However, he does have different information than the rest of us. He has connections to people, and those connections exist outside of just that vacuum of players, but he can have that impact. And so again, just the integrity of it, they're going to do everything. They're going to go to the ends of the earth to protect that side of it, to Cole's point. And I think that social issues and PR issues have proven over and over again that if they may make a controversial decision, or they may make a decision that people don't agree with. However, in a very short term, that will be forgotten. You know what I mean? Like, people will move on, people will watch. I think I saw a list of the top events on television this year, and the NFL was like 24 out of 30 or something like that.
That will never change.
And that's my point, is like, there's no reason for them to think differently about these things.
And guess who didn't play last year?
Ridley.
Deshaun Watson.
Also Watson.
I mean, but so like the show, Ryan said it. The show will go on.
Absolutely will.
Yeah.
I mean, no matter what, whether we watch or whether Deshaun Watson plays, or
Okay, so here's another point to that, and this is silly in a sense. So we talked about Davis Mills. That guy doesn't get the opportunity that he did should Deshaun be there, and we just said he had a pretty solid season, and now might have solidified himself as a starter there, when Deshaun Watson still, who knows if this guy's going to get to play.
Yeah, but he's got a lot of money.
Also,
not yet.
Ridley's bet was on an 8-game parlay that included the Falcons. For all those betting, don't.
Pete Rose.
Don't
Rose
put the Falcons in your 8-game parlays.
Don't slip them into that.
Pete Rose also bet on himself to win. Like, that's the thing that makes, and I've said this before, it's hard for me to understand sometimes betting. Like, if you bet on your team to lose and you're playing or you're not playing, even if you're not playing, like, you can, hey, dude, I'll slip you some of this money if you do this. So that's where, like, integrity-wise, I don't like the betting.
Pete Rose bet himself to win.
But
here's the thing, is that their argument, and you can very easily make this case, is that Pete Rose said, I'm going to bet on myself to win, and then went out to the shortstop and said, I'll give you 10%.
Yeah.
And I don't think that happened at all.
To the opposing shortstop, or
correct.
Yeah.
So like, he's standing on second,
that's where
saying,
it's tough.
Hey, boot this next ball, and you got $1,000 coming your way.
Yeah.
So I do agree with
a lot more than that. But yeah.
Right. I mean, that's what they can't control.
Yes.
Same thing with Ridley.
Yeah.
Like Steve said, he's got the number for every guy that was on that sideline. And all
probably
he has
for a
to
bunch of
say
guys if he's betting an 8-game parlay.
Is like, whoever it was is like, hey, drop the but like, they're saying he can say, drop the touchdown, I'll give you $20,000.
Which is the crazy part. This is the crazy part about that part, is like, if you're a player, and I guarantee NFL players are betting, they're just using their friend, they're using their brother, it doesn't matter, and can do the same thing. It's a fact that, like, he did it on his own account.
I have some firsthand knowledge that basically there's a player on every team that's just running a book out of the locker room. Like, so they can't do it. They just do it amongst themselves.
Right.
Which, So I'm gonna go out and say this because
We all did
fantasy
that.
football, everything like that. When you're in college, I mean, I played fantasy football technically against the NCAA regulations, playing fantasy football for money. I don't give a shit. I did that.
Yeah.
March Madness. I mean, we all did it.
Like
there's-
exactly. So
Did you ever bet
there's
the Bulldogs to win the
there's
PFL
some
championship?
capacity of
That's what I
sports gambling,
thought.
sports betting everywhere.
Yeah.
Should have.
Yeah. There is, yeah. I think that, especially now that it is so mainstream, and there's a book logo on every field and on every sideline
Yes.
in every sport, and so I think because it's so mainstream now that it's like, it's absurd to think that they're not doing it in some capacity. I think in NFL locker rooms it's going on for a long time because you got a bunch of dudes that are high intensity with money to burn. And
100%.
in season, they're getting paid week
These
by week
dudes are
their
betting on
entire
themselves,
salary.
though. They're just like, like
So-
us on the golf course or like any darts at the bar. Like, or Steve
Which would
trying
you-
to sell shots.
Which would you argue? Which would you argue is tougher? And we talked about like
I like it.
Ridley, maybe if he got a hold of a guy and said, "Hey, don't drop this pass or do whatever." Which is tougher? And you talked about a shortstop booting a ball.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it's tougher to sell a drop pass or tougher to sell a booted ball?
I mean,
I think it's 6 of one and half dozen the other. I think it's
Yeah.
identical.
not to mention,
Really?
like we see, because think about just
Drop
a
a
week in
touchdown
the
pass?
a week in
No,
the
that's
NFL.
different. But a pass
But think about just a week in the NFL. Guys get accused and get
of it all the time.
fantasy abused now
Oh yeah,
for dropping easy passes that they're not dropping on purpose. Like
Throwing
there's just
awful ball, like every top to bottom.
Right, like, and these are the best people in the top
is why-
sport of the.
This is why
they're
in
like,
fantasy though there needs to be a stat for missing blocks because then it would be really cool.
right.
But it's never here.
Like it's just one of those things where like easy misses happen at every level, and it's like it goes back to the coaching stuff. Like when we're coaching little kids, like the best guys in the world who get paid millions of dollars miss the easiest plays still. So like take it easy on your 6-year-old.
I think it's like
Really?
the top pass rushers in the NFL. Cashmore used to have a stat on this. They hit the quarterback, not even sack the quarterback, like 1 out of every 20 pass rushes or something like
So
that.
they're getting
Isn't
paid
like,
for 5% success rates.
Correct.
Yeah, isn't it like the top tier guys win rate on passes is like 30%
Yeah.
to just beat the blocker, not touch
yeah,
the
I was
baseball,
gonna
baby.
say
That's
win
just
is
to win.
Win is a different definition for that than what the fan would consider a win.
Yes.
You know.
Which is that's a crazy
A
percent.
hurry, touch.
Yeah.
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 No, that's
Well, he's
that's why I
just
think
talking
that
about
it's just-
defeating
defeating
a
a
block.
Right.
He's
No,
not
no.
even talking about a touch or a hurry
Right.
or anything like that.
But think about
Exactly.
that's the elite are in the 30s. A third of the time, 2/3 of the time
You're
you're
talking about
getting
like
beat.
Aaron Donald
Yes.
type of dude.
2/3 of the time you are getting Aaron Donald is
And
getting
that is,
beat
Right.
but that's professional
or draw.
sports.
Getting
Too. That's
handled.
professional
Right.
sports
Whatever.
across the
Handled.
board.
For us, we
the
call
other
it.
guy
Yeah,
got
I
in the
mean, we're
way.
talking
30 to
about
anything,
baseball,
30 to
things like that,
40%.
You got in the right
Is-
lane.
right.
The elite are 30
Does
to
he get
40%
2 and 3
success
X if
rates.
he gets triples.
If I'm 37% from 3-point range, I'm pretty darn successful.
Not
Yeah.
in today's game. Better be in the 40s.
Well, I mean, right at 40 though. Like that's
Yeah,
not. I
yeah,
mean, not a huge
right.
difference.
But if I'm hitting 370 in baseball,
Oh yeah.
if you're 37% of your,
You're out of your mind
Rushes?
if you're hitting that.
you're out of your mind.
Right, but I mean, we're talking like
But if
on
you
base percentage,
if you're
OPS, like that,
Right.
like right around that 40% mark, 35 to 40%, in just about anything that you do professionally.
except for throwing
Which is
baseballs, except for throwing
You don't want to be accuracy
or
of
kicking.
that. Right.
Any accuracy thing, you
But-
better not.
Yeah, that's true.
Besides
but
shooting.
elite level players are getting paid to do 30 to 40% success.
Yeah.
And that's what I think we can bring
Love
this
it.
to golf, we can bring this to football, we can bring this to basketball, we can bring this to baseball, we can bring this to anything. Amateurs, don't hold yourself at some crazy standard because you're not-
Manage your expectations.
Exactly. That's why you're
That's
one
my
of my
good buddy
favorite-
Lou on Twitter.
Exactly.
That is a very good coaches speak there.
Yep.
Which will lead us into our coaches corner. I need another drink. Anyone else?
Drink? Yeah, I
Taking
didn't
a
have
break.
any.
And then let's get into coaches corner where we'll talk about camp.
Sounds good.
Mainly, college, but we'll talk about
We're
camp.
going to talk about NFL killer drills.
I don't know what that is, so
Do I?
It's what they
hopefully
call
you're
keys
leading that portion
in
of
this
the discussion.
in this professional market. You
Go ahead, Coach Ingle. I don't know what that is.
guys really don't know what killers are? It's a basketball term, I suppose.
So that helps.
like running killers.
Yeah, it's like as in running.
I know what a killer is.
I know what a killer. Yeah, I know what a killer is. What is a killer joke? Killers? Well, just really funny.
The Colts were doing it in camp today on Twitter. Matt Ryan was also being required to run it. I found that absolutely amazing.
That's
And the
right. Well,
fans
football
were booing them for not touching the lines.
What's it called? Gassers?
Yeah, also. That's what they're doing, but it was so funny. They were just getting after for not touching lines. Just getting after them. Threes. They were doing threes.
You better touch the fucking line. Especially at Drake University. Oh, it's a lot. Yeah, I don't know what they do to accelerate that, but I definitely noticed that.
Well, the fan favorites are back.
Oh, I mean, absolutely. Really tough carrying the show at all times.
Applause doesn't lie, right?
No, it doesn't.
It's definitely not produced.
Zero.
They hold up the applause light in the studio.
That would be great.
Make me a bicycle clown. You guys ready?
So, we move on.
Yeah. Yep.
But yeah, that's why I went to these. Is because it makes me feel a little bit better about myself.
What does?
Zin pouches.
Zin pouches.
Ooh. Have you ever done the coffee pouches?
Also,
I have. I do not like them.
like a
They
sponsorship.
dry my mouth out.
How about the
So
CBD
Zen
pouches?
is just a tobacco-less chew, basically. It's
I don't mind
pure
the CBD
nicotine.
ones. I'm not a.
They can
I had
give us
never
money. We'll
done them before,
put 'em
but
on
they,
something.
But
for me, it's not a
it's
nicotine thing. It's
technically
a oral
healthier, although
fixation
nicotine's
thing. So
the addictive
either one of those
chemical
works
in
for me.
there.
The thing that got me off of it,
Get
the
rid of the
best
tobacco,
was
it's
seeds
more
because
healthy.
of that.
But there's
So I
also
like the ritual of sitting and
psychological
spitting and
different stuff
doing that.
advantages.
This doesn't offer any of that. So hopefully just taking advantage of some of the psychological focus and things of that nature.
It's a stimulant.
I feel like we
It's a very powerful stimulant. Yeah.
Yes.
a coach's corner button.
Coaches.
What do you want the coach's corner walk-up music to be?
Ooh,
Whatever you feel best about, I'm fine with.
I mean, I feel like if you want to go
It's
back
going
to
to make me physically
I
ill.
feel like if you go back to like 2013, Although the Lights is the common theme song for every single thing that you could ever have.
what
Yeah.
about Rudy?
Rudy?
Yeah.
Nice. That'd be good.
Rudiger.
I mean, we could just play the speech from Any Given Sunday every single time right before.
That's just amazing speech.
Yeah.
So like baseball, we've got walk-up music. If you could choose in football, would you have been individually announced each game with your own?
Certainly not.
Okay, I'm just curious.
No.
The talking about walkout music, I saw a sick video of Debo and the 49ers. They have one of their strength coaches with a boombox that's like the size of me essentially on his shoulder, and Debo and who was their left tackle, is it Trent Williams? Yeah, are leading the entire team out and just going ape. Like, you got Jimmy G like 6 rows back.
See, that would be
kind of halfway dancing, but they've got a long walk from most NFL locker rooms, I think.
Right.
So they did it home and away games, and it was pretty cool. So,
but like that's like a team entrance type of thing.
yeah, absolutely.
So do you have a song that you would pick for like team entrance?
So I think, for me, we had a team entrance song when we did like introductions and stuff at UNI. Okay. So we had
you guys had a lot of wrestlers have walkout music.
Yeah, so we had walkout music for our individual matches and stuff like that. But then we also, like, for starting lineups, we had music playing in the background, and it was "God's Gonna Cut You Down," Johnny Cash.
We had a lot of cowbells.
It would be country music
and a few claps.
Yeah,
and I can actually I appreciate that, but that's just.
But then
funny. It wasn't what I was expecting you to say.
But you have
wrestlers are different though.
They're
but you have
the wrestlers and hockey players. We talked about that before.
Yeah,
you have everything
different.
Everything up from. I think Mac Miller was huge when I was in high school, and I wore Nike wrestling shoes, and so I walked out to Nikes on my feet.
Yeah,
Mac Miller song, and then you got another guy walking out to "Won't Back Down" by Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers.
I love that.
And then you got another guy walking out to Shakira, "Hips Don't Lie."
Let's go. Coach's Corner.
Big fan of the last one.
At this point, probably every NFL team has obviously arrived.
The week 0 guys are in camp. Like, I saw some stuff on Twitter from New Mexico State.
Probably this weekend or very close to it.
Yeah,
probably.
Most of your Division I schools are going to be reported by the end of this week. And I would say probably most of your Division II or Division III are within a week of that as well.
Absolutely.
Just depending on when their first game is. Some of those smaller leagues of Division II, Division III will have a little bit later start to their schedule because they only play a 9 or a 10 game schedule. So that would be a little bit different.
So a lot of high schools this is their first week too. I've seen like first, second days of everybody.
High school football starts earlier and earlier every year. So yeah, the high schools are absolutely in full swing right now, especially in the metro. I know down south they are as well.
So camps now in college, what are the rules and regs just around like practice times, how you can practice and things like that? It might have changed for this year because you're out of it and we always get the rule book, but from what you know.
From what I know, there's only one practice a day. You can couple that with a walkthrough. There has to be, I believe it's a 4-hour window between the end of practice and the beginning of that walkthrough. And I think 3 of that has to be like legitimate downtime. So like they can't have any film meetings, stuff like that. They can't have treatments, things of that nature in there. So you try to squeeze as much recovery into that window as you can. And then you get into meetings, and usually we would meet and then walk through. So you'd have the opportunity to go over the corrections on film or the installation on film, and then you would have the opportunity to go out on the field and do it. So we've utilized multiple walkthroughs in a day. So the NCAA, when they went to no two-a-days, their coaches called everything a walkthrough, and walkthroughs were not necessarily always walkthroughs. And so the NCAA got wise to that and started defining what a walkthrough is. And so I'm not clear anymore on
no pads though, right?
No pads, no helmets, nothing like that. And there's supposed to be a certain tempo that you abide by. The challenging thing is when you line guys up across from one another, there's always going to be a competitive tempo to it, and so that was always the hard thing to work through, was how guys interacted with one another, especially once you got into week 3, week 4 of camp, and you're going against the same guys every single day.
Because we're not talking walk through pre-game or night before,
where you're legitimately
like Friday night
walking through in flip-flops.
We're talking camp walkthrough when guys are still trying to earn spots.
Yeah, absolutely. And guys are competing, guys are trying to demonstrate their value, and so it's very direct, very chippy.
So me having limited college football camp walkthrough knowledge, is
He said knowledge twice.
I said limited.
Limited knowledge
But
of camp walkthrough knowledge.
regardless,
I digress.
7-on-7 stuff. Technically, I don't have helmet, pads, any of that stuff. Is that involved in a lot of walkthroughs, or is that now too high of tempo?
You're going too fast.
The tempo is too high. It's too there. It's the way that they define it is non-competitive is the way. So
That's
like it went back and forth throughout my time as to whether you could or couldn't use a ball during walkthroughs. I think last year we could use a ball, and so that became an interesting discussion as to how you
Way better than a
prevent
brick.
people from.
Or we did it on air. Our fifth year, like just an air ball.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Hell, are you supposed to do with that?
That's 100%.
If I was a
Coach,
wide
you're running
receiver, if I'm a wide
reverses.
receiver
100%
or like a
completion
tight end,
We're running
in that
read options
situation,
and reverses.
how much trouble do I get in for dropping that? Oh, that air ball. Like
So
you
that's
throw that and I drop the air
that's
ball.
one of the
and make
things
it
is like,
laugh
so
and-
like receivers are running half speed routes, and then we're telling the DBs not to compete for the ball, and we're telling the receivers they should catch everything when they're not running full speed. They're not going at a tempo that they would, and so like it becomes lackluster at times. It becomes unimpressive to watch. And so it can, like, from a coaching perspective, is frustrating for me, right? Like we're running inside zone, and
There's nothing going on.
it's brutal because like the D tackle doesn't want to give ground. You know what I mean? Like if he just gets walked off the ball 5 yards back, it's not going to reflect well on him if we gash him in a walkthrough. So there's a little bit of competition there, and then that guy starts to push harder than the double team starts to push low.
And then and then it just snowballs.
Right, but doesn't this go
I
back
guess that makes me think of diminishing returns at that point.
Correct, and that's why that's a perfect point, Ryan, because I think it goes back to what Steve said about you have your practice in the morning, you have your film review, and then you use your walkthrough as a correction period. And I think that's the only way you can effectively use it, in that this is what we saw on film. I've got an offensive section of which I am going to do, let's call it 30 minutes of offensive correction. And like, this is what we saw. We saw these 5 things or these 3 things that we're really going to work on. And then I'm going to flip and I'm going to say defensive correction period. Yep. Depending on if you want to use scout teams or not, but like
that's almost identical to what we would do. I think we would each pick 15 or 20 plays that we wanted to go through from the script at the morning practice. We would have a walkthrough prior to that was special teams and installation focused. Mm-hmm. That one to me was most beneficial because positionally you could point things out, you could stop, you could slow down. When you're going good versus good, there's an expectation of tempo and things like that. You know, it's not like, let's stop the whole thing, repeat a play, do those types of things. Like that was doable, but it wasn't the preference.
Because I think that's the easiest way. Like, I think the non-competitive thing is a good definition for the NCAA, but I feel like if the NCAA just said like, you can't go good versus good, you would stop a lot of in some ways, because like the scout team guys, be it what they may, are used to being used.
Yeah.
They're pawns. And so like if your offense is using your scout team guys like you're supposed to, I mean, we've all been on both sides of it. Like
there are some rules surrounding the idea of like during those acclimatization days now that you can't have like offense versus defense lined up. It's all got to be technical work and things like that.
How many days is that now?
It's still technically a 5-day acclimatization, I believe, where you've got to have, I think, 2 helmets only days and then 2 helmets and shoulder pads. One of those helmets and shoulder pads still has to be
like walkthrough tempo.
It's supposed to be not walkthrough tempo, but it's supposed to be non-competitive. I'm pretty sure.
Which is so damn near impossible.
So if you do that where it's a non-competitive, no touch, whatever, and it's just strictly offense, as a line coach, do you emphasize, okay, you're meeting this guy 3 yards off the ball, you need to emphasize to get to that point in that walkthrough?
In the walkthrough, yes, you're trying. But there's an element of like what is the tempo, right? We would give them percentages, right? Like this is a 50% walkthrough, or this is 75%, or whatever it might be. It's very hard to play football at an arbitrary tempo. It's generally either you're walking, or jogging, or you're full speed. Those are the kind of the three tempos in my mind, and getting guys to match that, especially like. So I look at it from an offensive perspective, but then when I flip and think of it from a defensive perspective, right? Like I think of it from a D-line perspective, right? I don't want to get driven off the ball. So like I'm going to exert myself against this force that's being applied to me. From a linebacker perspective, I want to be reactive. I want to train my mind to react quickly. And so like I'm not going to jog through a read of a pulling guard, reading him through a backfield on a counter or a power play, right?
Run through it.
Like you're going to try to run through it, or you're going to try to scrape over the top, whatever your defensive scheme dictates, right? So those types of things are difficult to police at times, and generally you end up just reminding them constantly. You know, like that's just.
So how much do you hate walkthroughs?
Oh, I despise them.
Okay.
Absolutely despise them.
I mean, I had to ask because, like you just said,
I would take 45 minutes more of practice in favor of
2
doing
hours of
any.
walkthrough.
Yeah, like I'll take the morning walk, installation, putting fronts, recognition, stuff like that in front of my guys, and then a longer practice, and then give them more downtime in the afternoon, because time off their feet, which for 300+ pound individuals is always beneficial in my mind.
As a player, I would have loved that way more.
Yeah, can you do that? Can you elongate one practice with having part of it being a walkthrough?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, I don't remember what the activity window is. In camp, you're essentially like unlimited from a countable hours perspective.
Right.
But I don't remember what the window was for like how long we could manipulate their time in a day, or if there was a limitation outside of like they needed this amount of downtime between activities.
It's definitely changed. So there's
Yeah, certainly. I mean,
I don't know
from our perspective, like it's very
from the
different.
outside. I don't know if personally for the better per se either. Now, obviously, nutrition and downtime is huge, but like you just mentioning the walkthrough, like that, I'm thinking through camping, like that would just be annoying.
Right, but like so, like for your position, like that
Probably
this
not
is
for you.
very eye opening to me, because like, yes, I think about it from that perspective, and I understand the sloppiness that he gets into. But like from a quarterback perspective, especially if I'm looking at corrective moments, like to be able to see, oh, this is where that safety walked down to. This is where that linebacker lined up. This is where that 3 technique and the 1 technique were. This is the split of the defensive end. Those are the most insightful moments for me to get a coverage read correct, a run read correct, an audible made that needs to be made, a protection shift that needs to be made, and that's all pre-snap.
Structural stuff it is good for.
So,
you know what I mean?
So I do,
And that makes sense.
Positionally speaking, that is very much.
But
I
that's what
agree.
I'm talking about from a tempo perspective, in that, you know, that morning walkthrough was great because we would see it would be O versus O. We would self-serve and we would line up in generic stuff in camp.
Right.
But then as the season spun up, if we had walkthrough time, we could do specific scout work. We could create looks and stuff like that.
and that's where I think you saying, Cole, could you elongate that practice and still do some of those things? Okay, hey, we're gonna run this play full through, but Cole, I want you to see this guy coming down, this guy doing this, whatever it is, just like you talked about. I think adding in maybe 45 minutes where you could show that, and then all of a sudden, okay, let's run the play.
Yeah, and being, I think being coordinated on your staff is important in that way. Like we would have days where it was like, hey, this is a 3-day, or this is a pressure day, or this is a pressure period, and so you would have some inkling of what was coming or some situation that you were working on. And so you weren't just going into it blind, like, let's just throw shit at the wall and see what sticks, you know? So there's a lot of coordination and time and effort that goes into that side of things that I think maybe as a player you don't even necessarily appreciate. You just get told, oh, this is rundown period, or this is, you know, pass down period, or this is goal line, or whatever it might be. And so those things are very important for coaching staffs to be connected on.
Yeah, no, I just think just when you were talking about like a defensive back not making a play on a ball or not putting him, he's always going to try and put himself in a good position, but not doing that, I just feel like diminishing returns start to happen when you're not fully doing your job.
Yeah, that's a battle that you fight, is like, you know, defensively.
You're not filling a gap as a linebacker is.
Well, like how important is that
fullback
in the coaching, like to parlay that into walkthrough time is still going to be a significant amount of time
Yeah.
in camp. How much are you putting on that when you're looking at a guy, specifically looking at a guy who may or may not be, maybe he's the second or third linebacker or second or third O lineman. It's like, am I going to go with this? I know who my starting five are going to be. I know, but is this guy going to be a scout team player, or is he going to be a solid backup for us? Is he going to be traveling? Like, how much of that time are we really paying attention to? Like, is that just like how quickly they're picking things up more so than the physical part of it? Is that what we're really concentrating on?
Yeah, I mean, if you're talking, like, I can speak from two perspectives, right? One is, a young guy that's just coming in, that's just showed up. For me, I'm looking for physical ability. Mm-hmm. Like, if he has a physical ability, then we're going to get him enough repetition and enough meeting time to mentally bring him up to speed. Right. Hopefully, right? Ideally, that would be the goal if he has the ability to contribute that early. Right. But then the flip side of that, like, if it's a returner who you maybe have an inkling of his physical abilities already, he is demonstrating his knowledge of what's going on and how well he can do it.
So you're analyzing that by position, essentially, then?
By position, by individual. It's just like, there are always guys that you expect to, there's always an expectation. There's always, what you think of a guy coming into camp.
We know a smart guy versus a dumb guy, and like what we need to see from him for growth.
For growth, yeah.
Yeah, if anybody tells you that they don't have an opinion on a kid when they come into camp, they're just lying.
Right.
Like,
or just really, really bad.
Or that kid's in trouble because nobody knows him. I mean,
I mean, if you truly have a kid that's gone completely unnoticed, then it's a death sentence for him as far as his playing time. But yeah, I mean, at Drake, the roster is small enough, and at most Division I places in camp, especially because you have roster limits coming into camp, your roster is going to be small enough that you better know everyone in your position group. Sure. And then the challenge is, how many reps do you get those guys to allow them to demonstrate their abilities and their knowledge and stuff like that? And then when is the time that you make a move to kind of test their mettle? And because some guys will crumble. Some young guys, you put them in a situation, they will crumble. Other young guys, like, it doesn't faze them at all. Right. You put them into a new situation, you put them in with the ones, it's as if nothing's changed.
And some guys will just they'll just rise to the occasion. They're just literally gamers.
Yeah.
Where they suck at practice.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen as much I don't feel like at the Drake level as it does at some of the higher levels, just because most of the guys that have come to Drake, one, they have an appreciation for the game because you're playing at the level that we're playing at, but also more students of the game, I would say, in general.
Yeah.
But like, you still have those guys that, like, they suck in practice, or like they're just not fully engaged in practice, and it's like, 2-minute drill, boom, down the field. Right?
And that pisses a coach off more than anything.
Right.
Unless they know that.
So there's a challenging balance to strike there, right? Because if a kid repeatedly sucks in practice, like, they're not gonna be great necessarily in a game, especially at the college level, at any college level. Right. Like, I think it's very challenging to say that, if this kid's not giving effort or he's not fully engaged in practice, then why are we putting him on the field?
Right.
And that I think that somewhat sets the culture of your program to a point of, like, can this kid get away with this and be good enough on Saturdays? On Fridays, man, like, playing at Bettendorf, like, I don't know how much you guys know Tavian Banks, but he was still talked about, and he played in the early 90s when I was playing in the mid 2000s at Bettendorf. And there are stories that he just, like, may or may not ever practice, may or may not even show up to practice. I don't know how true any of this is on a side note.
In high school?
At the high school level, correct.
He played at Iowa.
He played at Iowa and then played for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Yeah, and so he's a very talented guy. I'm certain at Iowa he didn't get away with such things, but there are stories of that. And then he still has a variety of records, at least at the school level. I don't know, maybe even at the state level. So there's that side of it where it's like, I think there at the high school level that may be more pertinent, where you can say, hey, look, this kid's really good, and there's just no way I can't play him, right. Because you're playing, depending on the size of school and even the nature of just the culture of your team, you have to, just to give your team even a reasonable chance to win a game, you have to put that kid in.
Do you remember playing with anyone specifically, not high school level, I'd move it to the college level, like at Drake, within your 4 years, whether it was your class or not, that that was not a practice guy that you just knew, but you knew on Saturday he was going to show up and be the best player on the field, or something along those lines?
I think that at Drake it more happened because of injury than anything. Like guys were just a lot of times guys were so beat up that like there are guys that came in.
Well, some guys milk that as well.
But I think that worse.
Stoy's got a guy.
I'm gonna cry. Yes, I do.
I think that there are worse players from a performance perspective that milk that. You know what I mean? Like they think that they're better than they are, and so then and
everybody sees right through that.
I think so, yeah.
Right.
But I mean, like to name guys that are like your age, I can like in the injury from an injury perspective that I can talk about, like Scotty P and Jacob Craig. Like I don't think those dudes were ever not in a red jersey once the season started, at least. Like, and they were phenomenal still on Saturdays.
Absolutely.
And it wasn't because they didn't want to practice. Jacob Craig would run by guys on the scout team and yell dead.
Right.
Like he would run by them and just say dead.
He was like the boogeyman.
Yeah.
And then he really would like knock people out of games on Saturdays.
Correct.
Like, but he was just because of his.
He couldn't afford not to be in a red jersey during practice for other people and for himself.
Correct. Yeah. Like
Same
it
for
was.
Scotty at some point.
What
just
position
was
did
in
this guy
red.
play?
He played safety.
Okay.
And so, but he was
He played in
he was a
solid.
box guy. Like he was coming downhill to play the run.
I mean, think
like,
Bam Bam in
Bob
a football
Sanders.
uniform.
He hit Josh Johnson,
There you
who
go.
was in the NFL for a very
That's-
long time.
100%.
You just
Hey, so Josh Johnson, he might still be in the NFL. He's been in there forever. Played for San Diego,
Yep.
and was quoted
Quarterback.
saying that little safety from Drake is the hardest hitting person I've ever.
The
been
Jacob
across.
Craig highlight video, if it's still out there, is
He's
one
like
of
a
the most
smaller
impressive
John
things I've
Lynch.
ever seen.
Like to give you some reference.
He's
he
the
would
one I
just hit
told you wrestled the guys. I think I told that story on air. I don't remember if I did. He wrestled the guys in camp his freshman year he's a state champion wrestler. Jacob Craig's that guy who was taking down starting defensive linemen, senior defensive linemen in practice and wrestling, like dominating them.
My
where's he from?
crazy.
Mount Vernon.
so to
Yeah.
answer your question,
Yes.
Okay, that's
I love him, but BMO Benny Morrison,
Yeah.
is that
That's 'cause he's a diva.
guy.
Diva.
He's that guy. His fifth year, I was backing him up, and
Probably backing him and Grovac up. Or no, Grovac was out that year, wasn't he?
no, it was the year before that. It was him and Kale.
Gotcha.
I was backing both of them up.
Mm-hmm.
And Mondays light. Tuesdays Benny would practice. Wednesdays Benny had like chiropractic. I don't know, but I had to run ones and twos.
Treatment.
Thursday he'd come in and do half reps.
Wait, do you
and
have
then
night
be good to go.
class?
I don't know what it
Right,
was.
right.
I just know that Angie would always laugh and say it's game day for you. So I would tape up more for Wednesdays, which
would
by
for
the
your
way,
actual
Wednesday is like that was our hard
toughest day of
That was
practice.
the toughest
Yeah.
day of practice.
Yeah.
And run ones and twos because Benny was off doing diva stuff.
Benny, I
and
love
then he
it.
would show up and get a pick six and die because he, no oxygen.
Right.
But like that, Benny's my guy. That's
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
That's the guy that. Yep.
Yeah.
Does dumb practice. I mean, he went halvesies all week and half reps, but
I mean,
But
Pat
they-
Cash was the
Cash,
same thing as like Scotty P and Jacob Craig, where it was like his knees were toast.
I mean,
by
Willie
the time
was,
he
yeah,
rolled around.
Willie always had like a back injury or something, but that's a
Yeah.
guy that
You just
like,
knew
I mean,
you
him
could
and Pat
depend
just
on.
They're gonna
loved
play.
the game, and
They're
they
gonna
were
play.
the worst looking best athletes you ever meet in your
well,
life.
to be fair, they're white running backs, so
Yeah, but not only are they white, but they're like stout, so they're not cut running backs. They're not overly strong. They're not overly fast.
especially Fat Pat.
They just have the
Fat Pat was the best at
He
running
was
back.
way
though.
better than Skinny Pat.
yeah. Fat Pat wasn't as fat as Fat Willie though.
No, but like
Yeah.
at least Willie was a fullback.
Yeah, but Willie
And
Willie
blocked
had
more.
hips that do
Could- absolutely.
Yeah.
not lie.
Yeah.
Well, that's why he had like
Oh
5
my
touchdown
God.
tutties against Jayville or something crazy.
Unreal.
That
Just
that
that
reel
dude
was insane.
could do
was
it. All.
Platteville, I think.
But it was
Shout out.
awesome.
Current
Current Coach Cashmore actually.
Yeah.
Cashmore.
Coach Willie
well, both.
Cashmore.
I mean, there's two Coach Cashmore.
Yeah.
We should get him on the. We'll get him on the pod. We'll get both of them.
Yeah, for sure.
That'd be fun.
But,
To end the camp segment, do you miss camp?
oh, I miss the.
Yeah,
The
answer
camaraderie
correctly,
only,
please.
like, is what
Yes.
it comes down to. I mean,
Yeah.
you can't replace that at any level of.
Yeah.
How about you, Ryan? Wrestling, guys that just like going through the motions during wrestling moves, practice, but if you throw them one-on-one against a guy, you know every time that guy's just going to maul a dude. Does that happen?
Yes and no. So when you talk about a practice guy, this guy, it wasn't for a lack of effort. It wasn't for a lack of like putting in the work. Mm-hmm. He was just, I don't know what it was. He was horrendous in the practice room and ended up getting 4th at the national tournament.
That's insane.
It was insane.
Pure,
so
especially for
talent.
wrestling,
it was.
Right.
And
I
this
feel
guy,
like that would be even more.
and
like,
you could
harder,
ask people from top to bottom, hey, was this guy a good practice room wrestler? And abso-freaking-lutely not.
Is it because he was bad technically?
No.
Okay.
I honestly think maybe some of it in practice was like we got, and I tell this to guys all the time now coaching is I do not give 2 shits if you lose in practice.
Right.
Just let it fly.
Right.
Don't be reckless, but try stuff. If you get beat in practice, if you get put to your back, I don't care.
Right.
Nobody cares.
Yeah.
Just try stuff. Put yourself into positions that, maybe you've been in that you felt uncomfortable. Put yourself there and figure out a way. And this guy would do that to a degree.
But he wasn't even good at it.
But he wasn't. That's exactly what it was. But he was from Louisiana. He had like the strongest grip you'll ever. It's like the dude wrestled alligators growing up. Like he's a great dude. But yeah, he was a practice room guy. But injuries, just like you said, it's the not as great guys that kind of milk them. Yeah. We had an assistant coach who was a world's bronze medalist that came in one day, and I won't say the F word for this quote, but he did use it here.
Oh, this is different now.
Yeah.
Because one's from a movie and one nobody knows about.
It's a movie quote, yeah, right.
They're about to know.
So we were all we had to ride a marathon on the bikes, the Airdynes that day, as injuries. And this was right after. This was one of the first weeks I could ride a bike after having neck surgery. He's like, I'm going to make sure you mother effers never get hurt again or never want to be hurt again or something along those lines. And I'm like, wait a second. I didn't choose to have this.
I would rather wrestle today, coach.
Now, there were some guys, though, that, hey, I got a twisted ankle. I got a boo-boo. And that's what we'd always talk about. Is it a boo-boo or is it an injury?
Right.
Can you battle through?
Everybody's
dinged up at every single time of every point of the year. There's somebody dinged up.
We
suck it up.
Our trainer called that, shout out Angie, Camp Blood. And she would do that. Yeah. You would have to do so much. It sucked being injured.
It's basically an hour and a half of abs.
Always preferred to practice.
100%.
Yeah.
Always preferred to practice.
It was literally, you have X amount of time to bike 26.2 miles, or you have X amount of time to do 5
practice. I get rest.
We would do like a ladder of. We would do like a ladder of.
You also get to do something you'd love to do.
It's not like
500 meters.
Do abs for 14 hours. It felt
500 meters on a rower, 5 ropes,
right.
And like it was like 15 pull, whatever it was, X amount of pull-ups, and then 4, 3, 2, 1, back up.
All right, so camp.
Terrible.
We would all do it again from camaraderie purposes, right?
Yeah. I mean, camp was easier probably on me than it was any of you guys from whether it be a wrestling or football perspective. Camp was much more of a mental.
Physically, we had to do stuff.
Like, right. But just from a standpoint.
It was just about getting into a routine and being okay with the monotony.
Yeah.
And like utilizing those outlets that you had for camaraderie and stuff like that. Like Coach Fox, our O-line coach, nicest guy in the world. And we used to meet in a classroom that had a projector that rolled down, and McVeigh and Mora thought it was going to be hysterical to draw a huge dick on the board behind the projector screen. So when he put the board up to draw stuff, there was just a giant penis and the entire room lost it.
That is such a McVeigh Mora story.
It's moments like that make you.
Like you still remember that 20 years later.
For sure.
Is there a level in college where it's like, okay, some of these new guys are coming in. It's going to be a shock to you. Let's see what you're made of type deal in camp days.
Is that called hazing is what you're trying to get at?
But like through a coaching standpoint.
I think he's just
I'm
asking.
saying through a coaching standpoint, like, hey, here's our intensity. Here's our expectations. Meet it or you're not going to make it.
These days, I don't think as much anymore, but I could be wrong.
I think because most kids don't come from 2-a-days or 3-a-days.
Yeah.
In some instances, I think that this is we always used to call it taking the midnight train. there's always going to be one or two kids that just they check into the dorms and maybe come to the first day of practice and meetings or something like that, and then you don't see him again.
Right.
And nobody knows what happened to them because it's a freshman and nobody really knows him, or like
But
we
that's
do.
a mental checkout more than a physical. It's mentally more overwhelming.
Yeah,
than the physical.
I think mentally and emotionally,
Yep.
as your freshman year, like it's very difficult without having a clear expectation of what you're getting yourself into.
Yeah.
Like I think that's a very
underrated
piece of camp.
Everyone loses their girlfriend the first week. I mean, like we all know how.
My coach, if you were smart, you
My
lost
coach
her before
punched
you
another
got
coach in the
here.
face first week.
I mean,
Come on
there's
now.
My coach punched
of
another
things.
coach in the face first week. It was a shock.
Wait, do we give that recruiting advice?
What's that?
Hey, camp starts August 1st. Girlfriends stop August or
24th or
July 29th.
I would
just from a perspective
I gave that advice to every single one of
I
my
appreciate
players as a coach, and then as a player, it was always fun to roast the freshmen that came in with girlfriends and just how quickly
Just laugh
those
at 'em.
relationships disintegrated. Like,
right, because we were so helpful as teammates in keeping them.
yeah, no, not at all. We would we would monopolize their time as much as possible and keep them away from their girlfriends as much as possible as players. And then as coaches, it's just like it's another draw away from football. You know what I mean? It's another distraction. And so as coaches, it wasn't necessarily about that. It was just like, look, you've been in a place where you could spend essentially every waking moment with this girl, and you're very attached to her emotionally. And I get that because you spent so much time with her, but you're not going to spend time with her. You're away from her completely at this point in time. And so then what are you going to do?
Right.
You're going to end that relationship 9 times out of 10.
Yeah.
There's always the one or two that survive. Most often, I think what happens is guys end up circling back.
Right. Correct.
But-
Yes.
We
I know stories on that too.
that made it through. But I mean, those were people that were firmly committed going in. This wasn't summer fling
Yeah,
part 3,
for
4,
sure.
5, or 6.
for sure.
Although plenty of those out there.
Moving on. Real quick, because then we get to the finale. But anybody have any of their team NFL camp updates at all that you want to discuss?
Ryan Jensen got hurt for my
Oh, you're gonna declare one?
Oh, I mean, I said last week that in my mind, the Bucs are the favorite to win the Super Bowl.
So you're declaring them for this year as your team, because you might just have a revolving bandwagon door. It's fine.
I guess like I can root for the Bucs this year.
You
Yeah,
can do that.
Got hurt.
Jensen got hurt. That was big. And
few injuries here and there, but nothing.
we had a new
And
D
that's been the
tackle,
biggest
tear his
one.
Achilles.
I mean, Irv Smith had thumb surgery.
Idiot.
Sky Moore looks good in Chiefs camp.
Real quick though,
What's his?
Mariota looks good.
No.
Apparently,
Drake
so
London.
so does Drew Lock. So
Drake London. Yeah, no.
that's London.
Drake London's doing all right. Kyle Pitts, which clearly he's okay at football. Apparently he's unguardable, just untouchable. He has had two pass breakups, and both of those were AJ Terrell.
Oh, he's playing.
Which, by the way,
He's the best corner in football.
correct. So
Why you guys can be competitive this year?
I think we're going to be sneaky competitive.
Ah, look at it. Look at it. Talking him
Just a
into
little bit.
4.5.
Don't
maybe
stop
5,
believing, man.
6.
Nope. I mean, that's not happening.
I gotta go back and see Steve's like.
So
one loss
here's the
that,
real
like, he's here.
the real news is not even from Cowboys, but the other horse related NFL team, the Colts.
Yeah.
Today we're running killer drills,
Gassers, killers, lines,
line touchers,
whatever you want to.
which is
Down and
going back to camp
Oh yeah.
mode, not an NFL thing, by the way.
No.
A lot of ex-NFL player takes on this, like what in the hell are they doing? Basically, non-punishment related. Maybe it was punishment related. That would be like the only time, because everybody on the team was taking part of this.
Everybody.
Including the ancient Matt Ryan, who apparently wasn't touching lines and was getting booed by fans while doing this. And Pat McAfee, this is where I saw it, is McAfee's obviously a Colts fan. He's an
Clearly.
ex-Colt and cheers for him every year, but he's trying to figure out why the hell they've got Matt Ryan running gassers, and he is pissed. And, as a former quarterback, I can appreciate that.
Right.
Because the last thing Matt Ryan is doing during a game is scrambling.
for that long.
Right.
Like
he should be
total in a
running
game, maybe.
backwards if he's doing gassers.
Correct.
Let's put it that way.
Make him do his drops for
Right.
gassers.
So that was just a funny anecdote that I saw out there this week.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's the idea of conditioning or playing yourself into shape in camp is a falsehood now. I think that's why you've been able to get rid of a lot of two-a-days and things like that, is because guys are not coming in having, like talking to Jeff Martin, the wide receivers coach. He's like, we might have bench pressed over the summer,
Right.
Like he's like, we might have ran a little bit, like jogged, but we weren't in like playing shape. Whereas so many strength and conditioning programs are designed for guys to be in peak physical condition that week. And the goal of camp is to prepare them as much as you can for football, while not taking away from that peak physical condition. There's a line that you try to walk between those two things, right?
Unless you're Leonard Fournette.
Well, so that's an example of a guy where it's like he's come into camp pretty out of shape, and so he's going to be working in a different way, independent of the team,
Right.
because
the team shouldn't be punished because Leonard Fournette's fat.
Yeah, correct. And so you won't see that, like, and those guys will get incentivized in different ways to drop the weight or whatever it might be. And like Albert Hainsworth used to be one that used to always come in, and they would, when he played, they still had conditioning tests,
Right.
and they would have to
Exactly.
pass a conditioning test or whatever, and so before they could practice sometimes even. And so what a terrible way to go about it. Like it goes back to what we were talking about before. Like some of those guys are just good enough that they're going to play. Like you talk to NFL guys about what they do, and it's like, it's pretty minimal,
Right.
Like they're doing some physical stuff, but a lot of those guys that are, 10-year vets or just absolute standouts are not able to practice all the time, and they may practice only
To
in
the detriment of
shells,
the
or
team if they are, a lot of times.
sometimes it is because they aren't going to be able to contribute on Sundays then,
Right.
Which is
Or
hard.
at least for the amount of reps they need to.
Yeah.
The physical reps just aren't as important when you get to that level and you've been in the league as long as you have. I mean, Aaron Rodgers last year is a perfect example of that. Is just like getting the mental reps, making sure that you're on the same page with, the
Timing,
walkthrough stuff,
yeah.
like the timing stuff.
Timing stuff, I think, at the NFL level comes throughout the offseason, and then
Correct.
during camp.
If you don't have it, you're not just going to magically get
It's
it.
going to be a
Yeah.
long first part of the season.
So, like, that's where
We all can agree, though, like last cutting preseason, the first game last year was pretty preseason-esque for most teams.
But they're all going to be.
Everyone's
going to
be
guys play.
Yeah, I mean, like they're just not going to be in shape. That is a preseason game.
It's the line between having your team prepared and making sure everyone's healthy or in peak physical condition. And the pendulum has swung towards peak physical condition, and for a variety of reasons, right? Like CBA or Players Union and NFLPA and stuff like that are protecting those players at that level. And then at the NCAA level, there's a lot of data and research supporting guys' decisions to do that stuff, that to keep their players healthy and go in with a full stack or a full deck that way over the idea of more and more practice.
Well, and that's why so many of these guys, especially top-notch guys, have insurance policies now that they take out in college.
Absolutely.
And have paid off, like that we've seen. Like, I mean, Tua had one, and I don't know. I know we've had 2 or 3 other guys who have had insurance policies that have been paid out because they insured themselves because they would have not gotten paid millions of dollars
due to an injury.
had they not, had themselves protected. So,
All right. Fun part: picks. Our top 4 for a college football playoff in the final 4 for the NFL. Are you boys ready for some fun?
No.
No?
I mean, I'm ready for fun, but I'm not ready.
Not ready for those?
I mean,
You got to be ready.
I'm going with my story today.
Yeah, that's a good call. Worked out last year. We all
Actually,
got 50-50.
I just figured I'd come in today. I thought Ryan had them made for me. If we're being honest.
Oh, we got schedules on schedules. If you really
I do
want to
have-
get into it.
I did just because I went kind of with.
You went with chalk.
He went with
No.
paralysis by
I
analysis.
don't have my 4.
Do we have a lock
Okay, so
in? Anybody?
Where are we
I mean,
starting?
everyone's going to say Alabama.
I
I'm gonna lead with
I
Georgia.
would
but
I
whatever.
would go vice versa, and I would say Georgia's my lock because Georgia has the worst schedule out of any top team.
By worst, he means easiest.
Yes, easiest schedule out of any top team.
Gotcha.
I mean,
They
I would lock in
have-
Georgia.
3, 4, 5. I mean, 5 of their, the same as Alabama. 5 of their teams that they played had a below 500 record last year.
And Georgia
Nice.
and Alabama do not play each other.
They don't play each other. And of Georgia's 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 of their next ones are their above 500 teams were 1 game away from.
The question
Not
will
being
be their
500.
defense, their defensive
Nice.
line, and losing 7 starters basically. That'll
But they
be
still got
Georgia.
Mhm.
they're
I mean, they're
player to look
stacked.
for
Let's
is
not
still a defensive tackle. I
let's
think.
not be crazy. They are stacked. I'm just saying.
Yeah, all
That's
these
gonna
teams
be
are
one
just
of-
reloading.
If I
It's gonna
remember
be
right,
interesting.
and I don't remember his name, but they probably have a top. He's probably top 7 pick as a defensive tackle. I can't remember what his name is off the top of my head.
I
though.
don't know.
Right.
It was the other ginormous.
But he's a
400 pounder
but
who runs 4
realistically,
4s.
so-
Like
So let's look at it. Georgia's toughest tests are game 1 against Oregon, who they're probably going to beat by.
It's so shitty that
21.
game's in Atlanta.
They're going to beat them by 21, and then their
Neutral
next
site.
their next toughest
in the
game.
state capital, a few
I mean,
miles away.
Kentucky probably outperformed expectations from last year, but Kentucky was a 10-win team.
Yeah. I
And
think
then-
they'll regress a little bit.
And
this year.
then maybe you can't even say. I want to say maybe South Carolina just because South Carolina or Spencer Rattler's hype train. Are they? I think they're going to be better than maybe 7-6, but
I mean, they'll have a quarterback.
exactly.
Hopefully
not
that-
what is it? Zeb.
Zeb Nolan,
Zeb
the
Nolan, the-
transferred GA from NDSU.
Exactly.
You mean Iowa State?
Iowa
And
NDSU
Florida.
by way of Iowa State,
Right.
or
Yeah.
I was
Iowa State by way of
Way of
NDSU.
there you go.
regardless. He both.
And
Yeah.
Okay.
Anthony Richardson in Florida is there like other than that? I mean,
Florida,
Auburn's worse without Bo Nix. I think.
Florida has talent.
yeah.
They've got good recruiting class
The-
this year. I just don't think that
But-
does anything.
but, like,
you
I
gotta show me
like
something
just-
if
the
you're
hire
Florida.
of Billy Napier. I mean,
Right.
I
he's going to
agree.
do good things there,
He's going to be better than
and he's going to
Dan
have
Mullins.
to perform. I think Dan Mullen gets a bad rap.
I
On a
do,
side
but I
note,
think
like,
I think Napier is going to be better than him.
I am optimistic that Napier will improve over previous records. However, what Mullen did there was not bad, and I think that it goes back to a little bit of what we talked about last week with like expectations for coaches and how like what is the realistic cycle for this stuff? Like how
We've regressed so far from what it should be.
yeah.
It's
I mean, it's
crazy.
you're talking about with the portal and stuff like that. The expectation is essentially like 2 years you have a program flipped. It's turned into an NFL type model.
Yeah.
Which also stupid.
it speaks to the amount of money that's involved in it, which is where all of that comes from, because you basically have boosters and things like that that just make these
Just pull
decisions
that straight down
through
to
the
me, at
back
least.
door.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah.
So
So I mean,
So is Georgia kind of a consensus lock between?
Georgia's in for me, without a doubt.
it's going to be hard for me because I have probably one that you guys are not going to
Okay,
pick
we'll
at
get to you.
all. So
Are Georgia in for you or not?
I
And if you could
didn't
say no,
realize
can
we
go
were
on.
doing this, so I gotta.
You didn't read the Slack.
No, I didn't.
So I would
When
say
when did that come through on Slack?
My problem
I don't remember.
is the
It did, though.
schedule because I think that there are 2 better SEC teams than Georgia.
Who are your 2 better SEC teams? Because I'm intrigued
I
now.
think
got
Texas
that,
A&M.
Yeah, so that's my.
is- But the
I actually
problem
have
is
a future on
they
A&M
play
to win it.
Alabama week 2.
But
And
to
so,
me,
like,
like
it's
that
a
loss
scheduling
doesn't
issue.
count against you.
Right,
you know,
but only
if
one
you
of them's
lose.
going to make
yeah, but
the
if
SEC
if
championship
A&M
against
loses
Georgia.
and Bama wins, A&M isn't because Georgia's probably more than likely running the table here.
Yeah,
And then a 1-loss.
that's what I'm saying. Is I have 3 teams in my top 4, and so I've got to decide which one of those doesn't.
Do you have 3
Because
SECs?
do you think 3
Top
SEC
4, that's
teams?
tough.
Here's the question: do you think 3
Can't.
SEC teams
Absolutely not.
they can't?
they
They,
can't?
I don't think the playoff committee would do that.
They just
Although
I don't think
Unless their
I
hands
believe-
forced.
You can argue for it.
I believe that may be at the end of the year. We may be staring down the barrel of that should be of a 4-team playoff. that should be the.
But I'm just
the
saying
three
that
of the
like
teams.
there's going to be 2 other
I
teams
don't
that
know.
go
I
undefeated that you.
I think
can't
there's
keep
other
out.
teams from other conferences that you can.
Who?
argue. Huh?
I'm just saying there's going to be teams that are undefeated. I'm not saying they're going to be better.
Yeah, that's my
And
point.
that's gonna
Is
be
like
the issue. Is there
that,
gonna be
and that's the
Power
issue.
5 teams that are
is-
undefeated that they're not going to
So
lose out.
is A&M, and I've seen a lot of A&M talk, and I actually like A&M too. Is that so? They've been hyped up for a couple years, I feel like, and they've just kind of underperformed maybe what they're supposed to.
Yeah, but those guys are like they haven't had a lot of like they're not like Georgia this year, and that those guys have stayed.
Yeah.
So now they have the hype, allegedly, and
yeah.
the experience. Like that's
So
what
now
I
you're
see
talking. You're getting
Steve
to
as well.
the end of the recruiting cycle or the end of the eligibility cycle for Jimbo's first couple classes now.
Yeah.
And so I think that's where a lot of the hype comes from, and a lot of the belief comes from, because it's like they have been right on the precipice of it for the last couple years with younger guys. And so then what is this next? Can they take the next step?
They need to.
Yeah, they need to.
Basically is what it comes down to.
I mean,
Like, it's now
that's
or-
why Jimbo left Florida State, is because he
Correct.
felt like he could do more, and there are more resources at A&M than there are at Florida State and in the ACC, and so
Like I hate that game's week 2. I mean, I love it because it's.
I think it's
is.
awesome that it's week 2. I think that like the idea that they're getting over the cupcake scheduling and the playoff
Oh,
has
wait.
sort of forced that.
Never mind.
Sort
They
of
play
mentality.
at Texas week 2 and also host Texas A&M. Alabama does. Sorry, they play both. I read that wrong when I was looking at their.
Okay. And was
So
it
maybe that
last
game
year
is
that they
later in the
beat
season.
Alabama? Texas A&M?
Yeah,
Yep.
but they
Yeah.
had like 4 or 5 losses.
Correct. Yeah. So like I'm not saying that they were deserving last year. I'm just saying that they have the capability. They've proven that they're one of the very few teams that have proven they have the capability to beat Alabama. And so, and then there's a ton of hype because of the Jimbo Saban rivalry, which is amazing. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like you talk about like title fights and stuff like that. Like that to me, from a college football coaching perspective, like there are not 2 more prominent names than those 2 guys in the thick of college football coaching. You know, the other guys that you would throw in there as, you know, recognizable names would be Kirby Smart at Georgia and Dabo at Clemson. But Dabo's like kind of this separate, you know,
with like competitive teams. Is that what you're saying?
just with like
Chip Kelly
names,
at LSU.
names that people know. Brian Kelly is at
sorry.
LSU. Chip Kelly's
Chip
at
Kelly's
UCLA.
at UCLA. Brian Kelly's at
but
LSU.
people recognize those names, but I think that their prominence in the sport is unmatched
that's fair.
to me, you know. And I think that Jimbo only elevated himself by going to A&M in doing that. And so
Mike Leach's social media has put.
I'm a huge Mike Leach
So who's your lock?
homer.
Who's your lock?
I'll lock. Man, we got to pick a lock.
We gotta pick a lock. I mean, it's 1 of 4.
Everybody's going with Georgia.
No,
No,
I am. Ryan is. Cole's.
I'll pick Bama as a lock. I'll pick it.
I am solely because I think Georgia runs the table, and then even if they lose in the SEC championship, a 1-loss Georgia is better than a lot of these other teams.
So you're going Georgia or Bama?
He went Bama.
I know, but you
I
just said
went Bama.
so am I, and that confused the hell out of me.
I'll take Georgia for my lock.
All right.
I just don't think there's any way that they leave a Saban-led. As long as they have, you know, even if they have 2 quality losses, I think that Bama's in based on
Which is
reputation
stupid.
alone.
Which is stupid.
I don't disagree.
But I agree.
I'm just,
I
like,
agree.
I could realistically see 3 SEC teams and Ohio State. Like,
But that means a Big 12 has to have 1 loss, and so is ACC, right? If
They
one
have
of those
to
are
have a loss.
undefeated,
the
they're
Big
in,
12, the Big 12 beats up on each other.
right? I
every
agree. I'm
year.
just
But
saying though, if
they
one of
have
them
to
is
have a
undefeated,
loss.
they have to have a loss.
If they
for
run the
that
table in their
scenario.
conference, you can't leave them out.
Oh man, I want to.
And you're saying in your scenario,
I know why you want to, but you.
in your
playoff committee-
scenario,
So here's the thing,
what would work
if-
was be A&M beating Bama, A&M losing to Georgia, and that would be the way to go because Bama would have 1 loss.
Yeah, they would
A&M
all have 1 loss, and then
Yeah, but I mean,
one of
or
them
even
would
Georgia
beat
might
the
not.
Still
other.
getting left out.
But Bama,
Huh?
The
Bama, the
two-loss
only way that
team's still getting left
I'm
out.
saying there wouldn't be a 2-loss team.
Yeah, they have to play.
Who-
is the SEC?
who beats
is
Georgia?
There not an SEC championship anymore?
There is.
They lose
but I'm
to,
saying
like,
The
A&M
SEC
and then
championship
they lose
would be
to
Yeah, to A&M in the SEC
But
championship.
then A&M runs the
Because
table.
Georgia doesn't
Because
play
they don't
them
play
until
each other.
and
Yes.
Bama's a
Yeah, yeah,
one-loss team. Then they're all
And
one
they're
They're
loss.
all
Georgia's
one
a
loss
one-loss.
teams. That would be the only
Yeah.
scenario that like
You leave. You. I
have
think
to
you
leave
leave.
Bama,
I think what
personally.
they'd have to do is in that situation, and I don't want to say have to because I think
They
this
would
is
leave
where
out
your
the team
three-person
who's
not
argument
in
is.
the
the team
because that
that's
would
not in SEC
that would be
championship.
your
Yeah, I don't know.
basically your playoff game.
Because I think regardless, it's
You
two
got a
SEC
chance.
teams,
All you had to do,
OSU, and then
Correct.
fight for the other one.
you can argue the other side. But
You
the
could.
thing is if
Which would be
Ohio
Big 12 and
State,
ACC, and Notre Dame.
I mean, name 3 teams: if Notre Dame, Ohio State, and
Clemson or
Utah, Clemson, USC go undefeated. They're not leaving
No,
any of those
an
teams
undefeated
out
big-
undefeated.
Power 5 is
So,
no chance.
But the
I
problem with the
actually have-
Pac-12 is they beat up on themselves. The problem with the Big 12 is they beat up on themselves. There is no cream of the crop in
Oh,
those
I don't disagree.
conferences. The ACC, like, because
Sucks.
Clemson hasn't been as good, and so there's no prominent
that's-
team from that perspective. And so to me, like, if it's going to happen in a year, this would be the year for it to happen, you know? And who is, like, if you look at betting favorites, Oklahoma and Texas are the 2 betting favorites in the Big 12.
Baylor still is, and I think Baylor will have 4 losses.
Baylor is I think the 3rd or 4th in that group.
Yeah.
I think you're exactly right on that. But they're like minus or plus 350, I think.
I'm not betting.
To
There's
win it.
no way I'm betting a Big 12 team to make the Final Four.
So then who is the other team that you're betting to be in?
USC
You think USC is going to run the table in that?
in the Pac-12.
In the
with Lincoln
Pac-12.
Riley. He's going to take Oklahoma out west and and play worse teams than what he played in the Big 12, and just run the table out there.
So
I think
only
this is
team
your
that has
central time zone bias coming out.
The only team that he has a chance to
Did you just
to
say
beat him is Utah. Out
you
there.
have USC in.
Yep.
he plays Notre Dame in his final game.
I don't care.
Marcus Freeman, the Fighting Freemans.
I don't even like Oklahoma, but I
I
just
mean,
don't.
he also plays a Fresno State team that
To
came
be
off
honest,
with
I
10
can't
wins.
pick a Big 12 either, so I get it.
He's going to have a better chance in the
can't even
the Pac-12 to win than he is in the Big 12.
I don't even want to pick an ACC.
So he's recruited some great players, and he stole some great players from his last place. I don't disagree with that. I think it's hard for me to jump on the train of a first-year head coach running the table in a conference he knows next to nothing about at this point in time. And so I think that's where, like, I think that he can do great things at SC. I think the Big Ten transition is going to be very intriguing. But I think that I don't see them running the table just because when he was at Oklahoma, he always got surprised by somebody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, that's
So I think what's tough for me is, just like you mentioned, he brought in a ton of talent, but he's still got
He's got his
group of, he's
quarterback.
got a core group of talent that he still had that USC still had. They went 4-8 last year.
I can't.
I
They lose to Stanford.
Like it's
again. They're just-
hard for me to say
I don't
yes
see that.
to them.
I-
Although
I
I think I think
appreciate
they
it.
might be the most improved team.
But this might be
they might
college
be.
football.
They may win the Pac-12.
Sorry,
They
I
might
should
be
have
a
saved
10
that. I didn't.
They might be a
I didn't know
10-win
I didn't-
bombshell
I didn't-
there.
Pac-12 champion.
I also
Yeah,
think this year
but
might
I think
be
that Utah is really good. I think that Oregon under Lanning is going to be sneaky good.
Mm-hmm.
I really like that hire for them, but I think that they still go out there and they beat up on themselves and they prevent themselves from running the table and being in the playoff.
Is it this year for you, Steve, a lot? Because you keep saying they beat up on each other. Is this a lot of like a prove it type year where there's so many teams that are just gonna beat up on each other, prove it, and there's gonna be a surprise, which is what I was alluding to. That way, like there's only really 3 names at the top, maybe 4, but 3 of them are in the same conference. So, is there a surprise coming?
I think that the surprise teams in the Pac-12, which
Not
wouldn't
even
really
Pac-12. I'm just saying.
wouldn't even really be a surprise, would be Oregon and Utah. I think that people are not talking about them. I think everybody's talking about SC, and so I think that those 2 teams are sort of flying under the radar. Utah certainly flew
I love
under the
Utah.
radar.
Don't get me wrong.
last
Yeah,
year.
I
I just don't know that when it comes down to it, like the talent level that the SEC possesses, I don't think that Utah, Oregon, USC compare to those players. And then when you pile on top of that the coaching and things that those guys receive at an elite level, I think that it's just going to be really hard to make it make sense for one of those teams to make the
So
play.
team 2. So Stoy, did you share your team 2?
T2's Bama. My third team's Ohio State.
Okay. And I've got
three.
USC and Georgia right now.
Yep.
Ryan?
I'm gonna go.
Wait, do I have 2 teams?
No.
I think
right now
my
you
second,
have Bama.
my second
No,
team
you have
in
3 SEC.
my second team in is Ohio State because I think C.J. Stroud wins a Heisman this year. I think
he
he's
even
going to
will
be unreal.
Even with a Heisman, which
be
is
awesome.
not on the record.
I think Bryce Young wins the Heisman.
Goes back to back.
Yeah, I like it.
Back to back. He shouldn't have won last year.
That's
But
the-
that's neither here nor
Yeah,
there.
so
I don't know that anyone
that's the
should have really
problem right
won
there.
last
Which is
year.
why the defensive player should have won. Like
I
in a
mean-
year that no one wins it, give it to the defensive guy, please.
Right.
Yeah.
But
But
I think
I think
So
that
that's why
Anderson
Caleb Williams
has
is
an
gonna win the
outside
Heisman?
shot to win the Heisman as well.
Who?
Will Anderson, the DN for
Ian for Bama.
Yeah,
Dude's a freak.
he is. He was just absolutely dominating in that national championship game, in a variety of games throughout the year. But yeah, so I mean, I guess like if we're playing this,
Yeah, he also wears the best number there is. So whatever.
if we're playing this from a gambling perspective,
It's
and
like a
I want to get as
31
many
for
as
everybody.
possible, then I'm going to take the chance on the teams that I think are better, and I would take those 3 SEC teams: A&M, Bama, and Georgia, and then Ohio State. Those would be my 4,
Got
if
it.
that's from a gambling perspective.
Steve, just go ahead and just fill out your. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, skip way to 4.
Well, I've already kind of given it away, so
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
just like
He's really just said it a few times. He just didn't. It's on paper.
People have connected the dots. There,
The
you know,
knots, yeah, the
for the
dots.
listeners
I
at
just know if
home, if you're paying any attention at all, you knew that already.
So bet on the locks.
See, here's the thing: is
Can
like
you just bet on like the playoff 4?
we're pretty good about
yeah, I'm
talking
pretty sure
ourselves.
you can.
You look it up while you go.
Yeah.
We're pretty good at talking ourselves out of bets.
Uh huh.
I mean, Ryan and I's conversation last week about the golf. So
Point blank.
Steve getting used to people being like, you being all in on something and then actually finalizing and going with it isn't something that
We're used
the
to.
listeners are used to.
No.
Oh,
So like,
gotcha.
I would have
Yeah.
had that conversation and then went with like
Notre Dame.
a
Just
Big
some
Ten
random
school
ass.
and Notre
Yeah.
Dame, like
absolutely.
Nebraska and Notre Dame.
Yeah. Right.
And here we are.
Here we are. All right. So,
So,
your third in.
My third. I'm also going to go with Ohio State.
And
This is so boring.
it is boring,
College
but like
football.
who's going to challenge? We asked this earlier. Who's
Michigan.
challenging Ohio State besides like it's Michigan?
Mhm.
Yes, they have pieces missing, so that's their biggest challenge.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah. That's
and Purdue.
Purdue.
I don't even know if they play them this
Yeah.
year. I'm just.
I mean, if
I
they
mean,
do,
Does
it
they're
matter?
Ohio State's good. That's the thing. They're going to lose one game to a terrible
Wisconsin's
team and
Because
then
they-
dominate everybody else.
Right.
Like
I think
no,
Wisconsin underplayed last year.
They have poor quarterback play.
But they have a really good running back this
Poor.
year, so their offense is going to be a little bit better. Hopefully, take some off of that quarterback.
I don't really care.
then you
Like,
got-
when you say Wisconsin, you might as well say Iowa.
Yeah, and both those teams are boring as hell.
Yeah, so like on Ohio State, for example, I have
But-
5 games highlighted:
You're good.
Notre Dame, Wisconsin, Michigan State, Iowa. Just because for whatever reason they always play them tough. Except for it's in Columbus, so Iowa's going to get beat by 35, and then Michigan to end the year.
All their big games are at home,
So that's
except for Michigan State. So that'll be the game they lose.
Like, okay, so Penn State and Happy Valley,
Penn State's not.
but Penn State isn't the Penn State of old.
Not even the new. They're just not.
So
Quick local news: they just offered the kid from Dowling,
Did they?
Jackson Smollett, quarterback from Dowling.
Who did?
Penn State.
Wow.
He's had really good summer camps and Elite 11
Yeah,
camp, and he was
he
just
just-
at the Penn State camp.
Hasn't played
No, yeah, ACL 2 years ago now.
2 years in a row, right?
Penn State's still.
Or no.
still
No.
He played as a
from the-
sophomore.
Yep.
And then he got it. He hurt it in the
recruited
Southeast
from the
Polk
Cactus.
game.
Yeah,
to
hurt it,
open
had
the
to sit
season.
out, hurt it again, or like tweaked it, and then played through this. Then got hurt in the Southeast, which was like week
Ooh, that's bad.
last
this
year.
one I actually.
Because
So
he
he
was a
was
junior
out.
last year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was out all season, but then he came back and played against Southeast Polk in the playoff game.
Did he really?
Like 75%.
Gotcha.
Okay, Ryan, can you get a third on the board, please?
So I'm going to jump. My third is going to be my sleeper pick.
So jump to your
No. It's going to be my third sleeper pick.
They're all sleeper picks when they're coming from Ryan. Let's be honest.
Absolutely.
Wait.
You're just scrolling through a list of teams. What?
I know. I had to figure out where they started in the top 25.
He wasn't exactly
because
sure if
somebody
Appalachian State was.
If somebody starts 25th,
Their
likelihood of them making the top 4 is very, very unlikely.
Slim, yeah.
Even if they run the table. So my team that's starting
Coastal
just
Carolina's not doing it.
No, a team that's starting just outside the top 10 has a returning very good quarterback, Devin Leary, NC State. Wins the ACC championship and makes a playoff.
I mean, if they win the ACC championship, that means the ACC is worse than
they were a 2-loss team last year.
That means the ACC is worse than the MAC.
Wow.
Okay, wow.
Give me MACtion over ACC champion this
For
year.
betting, absolutely.
There's only one person. There's only
football?
one team in the ACC that can make the playoff on name
Clemson.
alone. Correct.
Oh, on name alone, yes.
And that's
But
the
they're-
ACC right now.
But they have a
You
lot.
just said if one of these teams from another conference goes undefeated, they have to be in.
I know. I'm saying multiple teams from those. They're going to have to pick one of 2 or 3 over multiple.
Over a third SEC team.
Because like Ohio State's going to get in, or Michigan because their record, they're not going to have 2 losses.
The two teams that NC State really has to win in my eyes, or beat this year in my eyes, they have to beat Clemson on October 1st, and then they have to beat Wake Forest on November 5th. Because Sam Hartman, I think, is a really, really good quarterback. Wake Forest had a good year last year. Now, I think they overperformed, but I also think that those are the 2 big teams that they have to win, and then UNC at the end of the year.
NC State. You thought USC was a stretch.
I did. My Lord.
So Steve's got 3 SEC teams in Ohio State.
Yep.
He gave Ryan
two
shit
have-
for being chalk, and then
Mine's
Ryan came back with the Wolfpack.
so far.
See, I
mine
told
was-
you.
He immediately defied my chalk.
No.
Said no.
I'm making a team
I'm
that
the
has
chalk
never
guy.
even sniffed
Yeah,
the
get
playoffs.
me out of here.
I like it.
Do you have a surprise pick for us? Storm?
Outside the box. I like it.
Or are you just going?
But if they
you on stock
if
with
they beat a 10-win Clemson, if they beat a 10-win Wake Forest,
No.
I have a
and they run the
hard time
table.
believing there's going to be a ton of 10-win teams coming out of the ACC in general.
Thank
So
you.
I think that they're going to have to
run the table.
run the table. And I don't think that they don't have the ability to run the table. I think that the ACC is a massive toss-up this year.
because I think
And
Florida State's
that's
gonna be
why
good this
I
year.
that's why I went with them, is because I don't think Clemson, arguably on paper, best defense for sure in the ACC, but their offense had a lot of lackluster play last year.
Sure.
Whereas
struggling to find
NC
number 4. aren't
State
you?
Well, I realized something in my
was
brain.
pretty darn consistent on
that
offense last year,
realizes that
and if they
that's
get
the
some
reason they can
defensive
never
play to
be
come
4.
along with it,
They
they
have to
beat
be
Clemson
2 or
last
3.
year, if I remember
And that's Notre
correctly.
Dame. If Notre Dame doesn't go undefeated,
they almost gave it
they're
away,
out.
I think, at the end.
100%.
But
And they play Ohio
So
and
they
they
State
didn't
game,
run the
so
ball well last year.
that
so they're
triggered,
going
and
to
I
have
was
to
like,
run the
no.
ball well.
Yes.
So no, I don't
this
have a
year.
4.
NC
Especially not
State,
with as competitive as SEC is going to be. You have to be undefeated.
Correct. So now
To
I've got
Steve's
a-
point, I think you have to be undefeated
Yeah.
to not get overtaken by an SEC team this year.
I think that's every year, to be fair.
Right, but I
Like,
just think that specifically this year with your 3 out of 4 is that those 3 teams have the capability to be 1 or 2 loss teams. Whereas A&M let people off the hook last year. They have 4 losses.
yeah, for sure.
So but they could. I mean, the teams they lost to weren't the best teams in the country. They were teams they shouldn't have lost to.
Yeah, for sure.
So they have the ability to beat those teams and beat Alabama and put a lot of pressure on the committee, which
Yeah.
I think that's what we both think that they will probably do this year. The question is,
That's I just
get to
don't.
13
I see
and-
a lot of parity in other
I
conferences.
don't disagree with that.
And so I think that that's where it starts to kind of fall apart.
That
You know,
100%
where the
tracks.
argument of those other teams getting in starts to fall apart, and so it's hard for me to not see it. And then again, processing it from a gambling perspective, I'm going to bet 4 teams to make the playoff. If I hit 3 of 4 of those, then it's a great day, right?
100%.
Like you guys just said, you all went 2 for 4 last year, and so if you bet 2 for 4, then you're probably losing money depending on the juice you get on that bet.
Especially
So-
on the teams that we're looking at.
Yeah,
It's
certainly.
not. I mean,
It's just proving my point.
if NC State hits, Ryan only has to hit 1 of 4. Let's be honest.
Yeah, for real.
But NC State,
I
they
have
lost to Miami by 1.
They lost to
last
Miami
year.
though.
which they
and they-
shouldn't have.
Right,
Oh,
exactly. And then they lost to Wake Forest, who was a good team, by 3 last year. They were 4 points away
Don't
from
you dare justify your pick to me.
but they were 4
Who
points
will-
away from a legit
This is stupid.
playoff
Who
shot.
will be? Wake Forest will be good again this year. Sam Hartman is back.
That's what I said.
And
I
so-
did say that. So that's what I said. There's 2 wins that they have to have, and that for me are arguably probably their 2 justifiable losses, and that's
Yeah.
Clemson and Wake Forest.
Who's your number 4, Ryan? I'm gonna go last because I can't pick one at this point.
I'm picking
Or you
Alabama. 2 SEC teams are gonna make it.
Yeah, absolutely.
My
Absolutely.
thing is Alabama is, for Alabama's sake, 1, returning Bryce Young, and 2, returning
Yeah.
from a season of which they didn't do what they set out to do every year, and that's win a national championship. So like I can't pick against them this year as much as I absolutely love Texas A&M. If I'm not picking 3 SEC teams, Alabama's going to get into me over Texas A&M.
And that's kind of where I landed. Was it was just like I'll take A&M over the field,
Right.
right?
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
I'll take A&M over the
USC.
Yeah, correct,
Right.
correct,
Not a flawed pick.
So
Or
Bama
NC
for
State
sure.
for that matter.
correct. Although I do have futures on NC State to win the ACC.
Right.
Like I like the NC State pick, I do.
Mm-hmm.
But I also have a future on Iowa State to win the Big 12.
So
Like, I think that those conferences are that big of a toss up.
They'll
NC
be-
State is a
they'll be
similar
better
like
than they were last
Texas
year.
A&M thing for me, where they bring a lot of talent back because they don't have a lot of those guys getting a ton of looks, and that's why I
Yeah,
like NC State.
They absolutely
wanna
return
pick
a ton
for
of
me?
people, and I think in a wide open ACC they've got an opportunity. But they're looking as you did at the schedule. Every single game was tight. You know what I mean?
Oh, I
every
agree.
single game was tight, and so
They got to run the ball better
they have
and
to
clock manage, and then their defense has to step up and get a few more stops.
Yeah, they have to do every single thing right. And those teams that are like on that razor thin margin, it's really, really hard for them to go undefeated. They may go, 9-3 or 10-2 in the regular season, but it's really, really tough for them to absolutely run the table and win every single game.
Yeah, I mean, Coastal's,
Basically
I
just
don't like
stalling,
it,
waiting for
but I have to.
Stoy to make his pick.
Coastal's,
Right.
Coastal's strength of schedule isn't good enough.
My 4th pick is gonna be
Can we align the picks that or we have
Yeah, I'll do-
blocks and stuff?
no, just the locks. I'll change them up. I'll line the rest of them, but we have locks.
Right.
It's got to be Clemson. I wanted Notre Dame, but I was talking to Cole about this. Notre Dame has to go undefeated to get in. They can't have a loss, and they play Ohio State.
Yeah.
Then you look over, and I don't think the committee will let 3 SEC teams in. That's solely that discretion, and so you have to look to the next powerful conference, and it's the ACC, most powerful over Big 12 and Pac-12.
You just think Clemson's going to win the ACC,
And I just
with
think that
1
they're
or 0 losses.
correct, and I just think they're going
The
to win the
Wolfpack.
ACC, because their defense came around and their quarterback play is going to be a lot better.
Dave Doran,
Yeah,
Drake grad.
Drake grad,
You're about to get
Wolfpack.
That was weird.
But if you like the demeanor
That
of
was
my
a
voice,
Clemson
I
Tiger
don't.
Tiger.
I just
And
don't
that
like
was
it.
Wolfpack.
I don't like it, but
Just call me Lee Corso Jr.
that's where we go.
Yeah.
It sucks.
I mean,
by the way, I hate a 4-team playoff, so
I'll
hit
don't.
that all year.
I also don't like this whole let's play the odds game. Let's play the odds game.
You don't like me?
He's the better. He's
Guys,
I mean, it's just
We have-
strategy.
we
It
have-
pisses me off.
If
We have
3
Goon
of
lock
them
3 out of
make it,
4.
I'm gonna just drag dong all over you motherfuckers.
he did it. He did it. He did it.
are you going to goon lock it?
If NC State makes it,
Or
that counts as
75%
2.
goon lock?
I'm gonna go.
I mean, if
through
you
them.
bet NC State to make it, it would certainly count as 2, probably 3 or 4, honestly.
Charity.
They are. I actually have the
not good,
futures pulled up here, and last
I couldn't find it. I only looked at
NC
DK
State
and
for NC
FanDuel
State for
This is gonna look
national
awful, by the
championship
way.
odds is plus 15,000.
I mean, this
for a national championship. Yeah,
I don't. I,
D1
I will.
State
I'm
for
not
us.
picking them to win a national.
Yeah, no. We're just talking about making the playoff.
Well, fellas, we've got
playoffs.
some things are about to change in this.
What's happening?
I'm going to go out. Let me just organize real quick. All right. So, I don't want to push it, but I do want to push it. Ohio State is a
Good luck.
Bama is a
Good luck.
Georgia is a
Good luck.
which is bad because our record at Goonlocks is maybe 25%, and that's up on the high end without doing math. Like way up there.
Yeah.
And the only reason I say that is because we all went 50-50.
Maybe you had
we
some,
hit 2 on the CFP
did you have
last year.
some early.
No, I'm just going based
Oh,
on
had
this.
some, like,
Okay,
yeah,
in your honest opinion, your guys' honest
Wow.
opinion was, did Texas underperform that much last year that people are actually talking about them in the
People
college
talk
football
about
playoff?
them every year.
Or is
Yeah.
it that the Big 12 is just a
People
kind of a
talk about
crapshoot?
them every year. There's no way Oklahoma. How's Oklahoma going to?
I'm not sure what you're
be in the
asking.
Boys.
playoff this year?
Boys, we got to hurry
Like-
up. We still have an NFL.
Okay, let's just.
All right, so real quick, I mean, we've got shitty shots on the 4 teams we don't lock on.
All right, but that's clear. It's clear and evident, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And also on the Virginia quarterback
And our locks.
winning the Heisman.
And our locks.
Who's the Virginia quarterback that's going to win the Heisman?
Pick one. It doesn't matter. You can have them all. It doesn't matter.
can
It's a
have them
Virginia
all.
quarterback.
No. This was this was the news of the day because if Oklahoma, the only way Oklahoma will win the Big 12, and if they get into the college football playoff, is if General Booty starts.
My Lord, you guys. They have a quarterback named General Booty.
Middle name Axel.
Middle name Axel.
General Axel Booty.
How
That is
redneck
tough.
do you think the parents
Also, how as your friends do you talk to that guy?
You
as
don't?
his friends.
You
Does
call
he
him.
not have friends?
You call him.
You call him GB? You call him Booty?
I have no idea.
You call him Booty, I think.
It's got to go by GD.
What was your
I go by
football
Booty.
nickname?
What's up, Booty?
Stoy.
Okay, first name.
Yeah.
I was always
Coaches
in
never
last
called me
name.
Hall.
I never had, but you never had a nickname. Flynn.
Yeah.
My freshman year
By
of
last
high
name.
school, I was baby fat because I was a freshman.
That's fine, but like that's a lot of words. Like
That's
not
it.
a nickname.
No, Stoy is. That's all I've been known by.
Just Stoy.
Yeah. First name.
'Cause
By
that's
the
because
way,
your
in
last
every
names are
sports.
generic.
Yeah. By the
Like,
way,
you
in
have
all
two
sports.
generic names. What the hell they call you?
Dodo bird.
Well, this is about the most fitting nickname ever based off of my sheer size in high school. I got called Smalls a lot.
Okay,
Makes sense. Okay.
that's fair. So like,
Flynn
like
doesn't
that-
know this. I was 85 pounds and started free safety for some varsity.
Oh, we'll
My
get to
freshman
that, but
year.
it's bad.
That's unfortunate
I don't know
for
how
your
to
team.
survive.
They call him chicken.
But it
wing.
was mainly for the fact that
All right.
I
Let's go.
just didn't care and would throw my body wherever I needed to.
I mean,
Great.
let's get through this. So
Yeah.
NFL Final Four.
Unimaginable.
Final Four.
NFL Final Four. Well, we know Cole or Steve has the Bucks,
That's true. That is true.
Yeah, I do.
so that's what I do with that.
I don't
like
even
it.
know. I don't even know.
So we're giving NFC team. Ryan, NFC,
NFC
team to make
team?
Final Four.
NFC's the easiest side.
The Rams.
There's only like 3 good teams.
I know. That's why the NFC's really easy.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's got to be the Rams. Like as far as like that's my first lock that comes to mind.
I'm going, but I can't. Rams.
Okay.
I just
AFC team.
that was a pure.
I'll go chalk on this and go with the Bills.
I agree.
I also agree.
Chargers.
Charges.
That's worse than my USC pick.
That's popping.
That coming out of that division is going to be rough.
I just
Figuring
didn't
out how
wanna-
to win a game
Yeah.
in the playoffs.
I mean, I'm
let alone-
probably
well,
going to take
little
the Bills as
win
well,
a game.
but I
Let
think the
alone
Chargers are the.
All right.
They're tough.
The second
It's
NFC.
going to be tough in that division.
The
Second NFC.
second NFC.
The thing is what sucks to look at is I think
I mean, nobody in the NFC. I don't think that anyone in the NFC North or NFC East can win. So therefore, like I'm looking at the NFC West and the NFC South.
Which you only have one team in the South.
So therefore, it's either the Bucks and or 2 teams from the NFC West
Or the Cardinals.
And like Kyler Murray
I would more Niners.
refuses to watch film. I don't trust a rookie quarterback.
It would be the Niners.
Give me the Bucks.
I know.
So you went Bucks Rams.
Yeah.
Like that's so boring.
Yeah.
As hell. But
Give me the Cowboys. They're gonna be awesome.
I won't.
Wow. That was aggressive.
I know that's because
So was being a Cowboys fan.
being sarcastic and
What's up? What you got?
disappointed.
Man. I also like Rams Bucks, but
That is a
I'm gonna go Rams Bucks.
Dang it. He said but.
Yeah.
on the Rams, number 1 of the NFL. That's good. And by good, I mean it could be our year.
You got
This
the
could
Falcons.
this could be our year.
You got the Falcons in there?
Absolutely.
You got the Falcons in there. You got the Panthers in there. Baker Mayfield. Let's go.
The only other team that I legitimately considered was the 49ers.
Yeah, but you can't.
But I can't bet
Wow,
on Trey Lance.
Yeah,
Like
I'll
Trey
go
Lance
Bucks.
is not the answer.
I'll go Bucks. And
Sorry.
I want to pick somebody else other than them.
Who?
What?
Who?
Squad.
I think
you
I do.
embarrassed
I
to
do
talk?
like.
I like
do
the Vikings.
I like the Vikings to win the North
Is their
and make the
defense
playoffs.
good enough? That's my question with the Vikings. If the Vikings had the Cowboys defense, I would pick the Vikings 100%.
They
I think
added.
their offense is
So
going to be
this
that
is
good this year.
this is why I have an asterisk next to them because they added a lot of defensive weapons. They added They added edge rushers. They added a bunch of defensive backs.
I thought he was going to go with it.
I mean,
to me, it's
they were one of 4 teams I considered.
one. I can't pick the Bucks because
I'm going. Yeah,
Let's
take
go.
it off.
Oh, we did it.
This is
Let's
exactly
go.
what we're talking
Come on,
about.
right
what
here.
did you just get talked
Do
into?
not leave me
Vikings
hanging.
over the
Vikings.
Bucks.
Do not leave me hanging.
Oh man.
Come on.
And
That was a bad high five. Let's go back.
I hope that for you.
I have to.
hope that. For
I
you.
have to actually take the Bucks out of the equation because it just makes me.
Because it's going to make me physically ill.
So I can't. They're
Oh,
not
you
on
can
that.
get the Giants in there?
They're not on there. So to me, it's Eagles, Vikings.
Were you someone who liked the Eagles being sneaky good this year?
So you would take the
Or-
Vikings to come out of the NFC North over the Packers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That I'm saying.
Do you wanna
those
hear-
are-
do you wanna hear the
Eagles,
most
Vikings are
controversial-
My 2 teams.
Wanna
Yes,
hear one
I
of the
have
most
Vikings over
controversial
Packers.
quotes.
What's that?
One of the most controversial quotes we've had in recent times was, "I think the Packers have a better chance of getting third in the NFC North than they do first."
I could see how that's controversial.
Yeah, because it hurts your brain.
Against the grain.
You know what? Give me the Eagles. Fly, Eagles, fly. Fly them all. Come on, Philly fans.
It's going to be tough with a guy who
F
can't
you
throw the ball.
Bucks. It is going to be really tough, but
I like it.
that is
Doing
an
it
easier
in Baltimore.
route.
Yeah, that
'Cause
guy's
the
actually
East
better
is
at
not
throwing the ball than he gets credit for is the thing.
All right.
A little bit,
the
but-
The
second
stats on him
our
are
final pick for the AFC.
deceiving.
I think they set him up for success,
This
and
guy
I think they'll do a better
sets
job
himself up for success.
Final pick.
throwing wise.
Eight-
I'm
Those are
sorry.
his
Final-
legs.
Okay. Final
I'm talking
pick.
about throwing.
All
There.
right.
I agree.
All right, I'll just be over here. That's fine.
Yeah, I'm looking up some stuff to see because this
Oh,
has influence
I'll
on
go.
my pick.
Colts, baby. Matty Ice.
Wow.
Taking 'em.
Wow.
Taking 'em.
Oh,
What a
hate it.
bass.
I don't hate it.
Taking him. He did it again. Wow, today's been a day. He's had like 2 or 3. He's had 1.
Yeah.
One was a movie quote. That doesn't
At
count.
least Steve's was
My
passionate.
computer is going to die.
Hurry up,
I'm
Ryan.
glad it's on.
What do you mean? Why does it got to be me? You pick.
Because you already picked the Chargers, so we got to get one chalk pick out of you. What are you going to do? Take the Broncos?
No, absolutely not.
Probably should. It'd be funny.
Chargers. He took the Chargers. Do you know how many? Here's how many NFC West teams
I'm gonna go Bills.
or AFC West teams I would take over the Chargers. The rest of them.
I'm gonna go Bills.
That's not a bad
I
bet.
think the Chargers will lose their division. Can we shitty
On
shot
the
that?
Bills. What?
The Chargers are going to lose their division.
Like be last, completely last. So
They're going to lose to Mahomes. They're going to lose to Carr, and they're going to lose to Russell Wilson. Absolutely. They're going to be last in their division.
Because they cannot find a way to win a game.
Correct. As good as, and I like Herbert.
Yeah, Herbert's good.
They're just not, he's not going to beat those three
Eckler's
quarterbacks.
good. Keenan Allen's good.
He's the.
I don't think he's a bad pick, man. Stick to your
Hunter
guns.
Henry, correct?
Hunter
Am I still
Henry.
If he's
I don't know if he's still on
Steve
their
wants to
roster
pay
or not.
$5 for a shitty shot too.
Yeah, he does.
What do I want to do?
Not you want the Chargers to win?
No, I don't.
Who do you think's going to lose that division? The Broncos.
I would think that
It's
the
the
Broncos
best division in football.
Oh,
would
yeah,
lose the
100%.
division. I mean, 3 of them
So are you
are
putting $5 on it, or a shitty shot?
3 of them are in the top 5 on odds for AFC Championship.
Gerald
game.
Everett.
As they should be.
The
Gerald
FC
Everett
West is the
is their-
SEC of the NFL.
Who's not in the 3?
Tight end.
The Raiders.
I don't like that. It doesn't make sense to me. I think the Raiders are better than the Broncos. I think Raiders finished 2. Chiefs, Raiders, Broncos, Chargers.
I'm having a really hard
can't
time
pick
picking
the Chiefs.
anyone besides the Chiefs.
I can't pick the Chiefs in the top 4
all right.
because their division is so damn
You might want to pull
impossible.
this up. My
Yeah.
computer
Taking
is
Bills,
gone.
Chiefs.
I think somebody from
Mine's
that
about to
division
die.
does.
Mine's blinking red.
Bengals is the only other thing that's
I have 9.
So you're going
speaking-
Chiefs?
Speaking to me, besides Chiefs, I don't know.
You said Bengals?
Bengals the only other thing. I mean, they're
All right.
in the Super Bowl last year,
I
and
don't want to make the pick.
they
Talking shit
went
on
out
all
and
your picks,
solidified
but I
their
don't wanna
line,
do
which
that.
was
I'll talk
a
shit
big
about
I-
everybody else.
gaping issue that
I
they
don't
had.
I don't disagree.
So that's the only other thing.
I just think
that's
that it's more competitive in the North with the
Wanna go
Ravens and
Dolphins?
Bengals this year than what it was last year.
maybe. I don't know.
Two AMC. Do it. You can do it. You can do it.
I don't
I
love what
I love
I know
your
that
pick
Marquise
because their
Brown is being
division
touted
is
as a
so
big get for them, but
terrible.
So bad.
or a big loss for
Is there
them.
a Matt
The
Ryan
Ravens?
injury?
Yeah,
from
I-
not
but
being
I don't-
I
Being
think
at the
it's
bottom
less
that
of what
division.
people
I know.
think.
I know.
Yeah, but I just
They're
don't
not
He
as
doesn't get injured.
talented.
think they're
Yeah, but
going to
just,
throw the
like,
ball
they're not as talented as any
miraculously.
of those AFC
No,
West
that's fair.
teams.
No, they're not.
I'll just to deviate from the norm. I'll pick the Bengals as my final one.
Give me the Ravens. Chip on the shoulder, defensive-minded team with a
Wow.
dude that, I mean,
They can certainly control the clock.
yeah. Lamar
You know.
Jackson, that dude's just been crapped on his whole NFL career, and I don't want to root for the Ravens. That's just it's a Stoy feeling.
Go with your gut, baby. This early, there's only certain things you can do.
How many of the Ravens running backs are back this year actually going to play?
I think Ray Rice might be coming back.
The dude guy is back. The guy from Ohio State.
He's
J.K.
fresh.
Dobbins?
Yeah, he's
funny.
he's
He is
supposed to be
fresh.
healthy.
And Gus
Legs
Edwards?
are super
Fresh to
fresh.
death.
I believe
Super
Gus
fresh.
Edwards is back.
Arms might be a
I
little
mean,
tired.
they
He's
have
been
4.
swinging,
I mean,
but
J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards,
They'll go
Mike
out.
Davis, and Justice Hill. Those are 4 good guys.
Yeah, I think they'll be fine at running
Rondo.
back and at quarterback.
I was just talking
went
mainly for
with,
their injuries. I think they're
my guy
they're
from last
good at
week,
running
Kendrick.
back.
Yeah, Dobbins will be back. He got hurt
He's
early
been,
last year.
Like
I'm pretty sure.
top 20 every event that he's played this year. He's just only played like 4 events.
That's also fair.
So I was like, yeah, I'll go back.
All right.
And his odds are unbelievable to win. They're like 500.
Football game this week?
Jacksonville?
The Hall of Fame.
Versus
EDN and Lawrence are not playing.
Yes. Also, the 2 players that you would want to watch in the game are healthy scratches already.
well, of course they will be.
So, not. I won't be tuning in. Maybe some other people. I'm
It's
sure a lot of
Raiders,
people
Jags. You guys gonna watch it? I might tune in just
I'm gonna
to
watch it. Yeah, I mean,
it's football. All right, it's first football game.
will. I'll be in Omaha, so
You guys want
I'll be
to put a shitty shot on it?
no.
How about this? Over under 30 total points?
30? What's the actual
take the
line
over.
at?
I have no clue.
No. This
Pause.
is the best. Don't look it up.
No, this is the
By
shitty shot.
default, I would take the over, but I don't. I mean,
You said it, so you got to take the under.
But no one. You said it.
You said it,
I say take the over.
That's
and you're the
lame.
under guy, and you said it,
That's lame.
and we're 3-1.
That's lame. I don't like when there's
Will we
four
give
of
it?
us.
Here's the real question. Stoy said it. Will we give him the hook at 30.5?
or we push.
No,
Like
we won't.
30 and a half.
We got to
If
give
it's
him the
30,
hook.
he wins.
Since he
If
said it
it's
and is the only guy
31,
going-
we win.
Oh, if we give him, we would
We're
just
gonna
give
give
him
him the
30
hook.
and a half.
Yep.
Um,
Are you willing to give him the hook? Since we all,
What is it? 48.
it's got to be 50.
No. Just Yes, I would be willing to give him that.
I would as well. I was just curious
I'll take it.
if Steve is.
We don't have a
that's
weekly thing.
Fine.
All right, 30.5 it is.
What's it at?
30.5 with money on the under.
I love it.
I love that. That's fun. Yeah, it is. I think.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I feel like we're gonna find a 17-14 game some way somehow. Let's be honest.
Yeah, I think that. Yeah, I don't know.
All right.
I mean, we got a few blown coverages in there, regardless of how bad the offensive was.
Yeah, Josh McDaniels, offensive mastermind, coming to
Nobody's
Las
trying
Vegas.
to get hurt. We're gonna get 17-14.
It's gonna be awesome.
Great set by you though.
Right?
Yeah.
He knew.
I knew.
He cheated.
Actually, didn't even know that was. I didn't register the fact that it would be out. I didn't even know the game was this week. So
Stoy didn't think you could bet. Remember?
yeah, you can't bet yet.
You
Can't bet yet.
No betting yet.
All right. As always,
Did we make? Are we making public golf picks? Or are we just doing those on our own?
we probably should. I mean,
I don't care
it's
if we-
football season.
yeah.
We can do that on our own. We already have our shitty shot of the week.
Sounds good.
Yeah, as
I mean,
always,
there'll be a
everybody.
shitty shot on the line.
As
but-
always, everybody. Now that we're back into the swing of things for football, give us your polarizing picks. So you guys got your playoff picks already for college football or for the NFL. Let us know. But until next time.
Wait, real quick disclaimer.
Oh.
If we have any camp injuries, can we that are significant to the teams we've picked? Do we have a repick available?
You get one breakfast ball. Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm asking. That's all I'm asking.
So like,
I mean,
golfing
we
was
made
a
golf
golf
early,
reference
so that's
from
what I'm
I like
saying.
it. He
golf
pulled it
guy.
all
Not
the way
to-
down.
Non-season, non-regular season injuries. Do we have the chance to make one
that's me.
adjustment for both college and NFL?
Like knock on wood,
Ooh.
Josh
I don't
Allen.
want
And there
anyone
it
to
goes.
get hurt. But
Knock on wood, Josh Allen. I'm not taking the Bills without Josh Allen.
Yeah.
Aaron Donald,
Yeah, for
Josh
sure.
Allen, Matt Stafford, Mahomes. These are
One breakfast ball.
For a
Eat-
quarterback injury.
No, you have one breakfast ball for all 8 picks. Because it's college and NFL. So you have to choose.
And you got to make it before week 1 of
So
each
you're
season.
saying if Bryce Young
I'm just
and
saying, like,
Josh
not week
Allen both
0,
get
week
hurt,
1.
if Bryce Young and Josh Allen and whatever world where we both get hurt, you have to pick and choose who you'd want to take.
between one or the other.
Correct.
I'm taking the NFL guy every time over the college guy. Just
I know, but
Right.
you get one breakfast. You get
in
one
a
molly,
college. That's just system playing.
Yeah.
plus the talent for the rest of the team.
Plus the
except
other
a lot
talent.
of friends.
All right.
All right. Oh, as always,
As always, like, subscribe, follow, share. We're on all Spotify, all
Comments.
podcast.
come at us.
Come at us.
Quit
Absolutely.
being little bitches.
I mean, we made some picks that are a little outside of the box here.
Trojans.
Trojans, Aggies,
Wolfpack.
Go,
Wolfpack, baby.
Go Tigers.
That's a great.
The Chargers.
If I liked
The Vikings.
Pack better.
Yeah. You had 2 big ones there.
Yeah, exactly. But that's what I am. I'm a wild card, is
You
what.
are something.
Yeah,
You're a
he's something
wrestler.
else.
You're a wrestler.
Right.
All right, everybody. We
next
appreciate
week.
you. Till next week. Thank you.
It's not off until that's off
Right.
because my computer died.
You don't score until you score.
The two on the right top.
Push the not. Don't push the red ones.